This is Atomic Shinobi and today I'm going to narrate first part of What If Kid Naruto has the power of the kings. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Not wasting no more time, let's start the story.
In the Konoha streets, a little boy with blonde hair, who was being pursued by some villagers, swore, "Damn it." The boy's conceited actions to gain attention were the cause of this. He tried to attract other people's attention for years. Why? The Kyuubi no Kitsune attacked Konoha on his birthday. After defeating the nine-tailed beast, Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage, sealed Yui Namikaze, Naruto's twin sister, inside. Kushina and Minato both managed to survive somehow. Yui was viewed as Konoha's savior. Everything appears to be going well, with the exception that Naruto's parents both seemed more interested in Yui than in Naruto. A few months before Naruto received any instruction, they began training her. Ninjutsu came naturally to Yui. By the time she was 5, she was already enrolled in the academy. They haven't called Naruto by his name for the past few years, instead, they have referred to him as Yui. Sama ni San, or the Yondaime's son. Many people considered Naruto a disgrace after he began pulling practical jokes on the Konoha populace, asking themselves, how could the son of the noble Yondaime Hokage do such actions? Many scowled at the little blonde boy, and some people would even deny that he was the Yondaime's son. A few Chunin have now joined the crowd. The Chunin grabbed Naruto and he was unable to get away. One of the men in the crowd shouted, "Today we restore the honor of the Yondaime," while the others roared in agreement. Naruto sobbed as he was being restrained. Why are you doing this?" One of the Chunin knocked out the little blonde, saying, "Don't worry, we won't kill you, but the shame you bring to the Yondaime ends today." A few Junin immediately approached the crowd, and one of the Chunin gave Naruto to one of them, saying, "You know what must be done." Naruto's current Junin merely nods in agreement. Now he was out of Konoha, running so fast that no civilian could see him. After half an hour, Hokage's office. The expression, "Minato was mad," was insufficient to describe his current level of rage. God damn it, where the hell were the Anbu that were supposed to watch Naruto? Anbu wearing a hawk mask said, "Hokage. Sama, I apologize. The men who were meant to watch Naruto are all away on missions. Have you found the people that attacked Naruto? Hi, what do you want to be done to them?" The Anbu perspired a little because he knew that once Ibiki was finished with you, death would seem like a blessing. "Send them to T and I want to know everything they know about where Naruto could be. Tell Ibiki to use whatever means." "Hi Hokage. Sama." The Anbu then departed. Minato sat down in his chair and inhaled deeply. "Naruto, please be safe." A day later, at night. Every time Naruto began to wake up, the Junin would know him out again because he had been traveling through the night and most of the day. The Junin placed Naruto in a river and departed, saying, "This should be far enough here." Naruto was soon picked up by the river and sent downstream. In the dead of night, a few hours later, a man with white hair moved with two other people and said, "Damn it, they're still on our tail." As they passed through the forest, a blonde man asked, "Darui, just what did we steal?" "See, look Idon." A woman with brown hair and a nice bust said, "Kumo can become the strongest village with this." "Haruka, just what do you mean?" "Well, this will." They were attacked by a kunai, shuriken, and a few kaiden jutsus. The Kumo Nin were doing a great job fending off their assailants. A vial containing a pink glowing double helix fell out of the woman's pocket as Haruka was struck by a Suiden jutsu, but victory was assured. Haruka uttered the word, "Shimata," as she got farther away from the tube. A nearby blonde who appeared to have just washed up from the river landed the vial after it rolled down a hill. The sound caused Naruto to begin to awaken. "Where am I?" Naruto asked, realizing that he was in a forest. He continued to explore until he asked, "Hey, what the heck is this?" He picked up the vial and became very interested. Naruto was confronted by one of the men engaged in combat with the Kumo Nin. The man abruptly hurled the young blonde, "Mister, can you take over?" With haste, Naruto raised his arms to shield his face. As the kunai stabbed Naruto's right hand, it actually went all the way through, breaking the vial in the boy's hand, causing him to scream in agony. The pain caused the boy to faint. Now that Haruka was close to the river, he killed the man who had attacked Naruto. What the hell is a kid doing here? Darui said, Haruka, what's wrong? As he and C now stood beside Haruka. More people started to show up. I don't know what's going on, but they just attacked this kid. C then pulled out his sword, and his teammates followed suit. Looks like these guys were around too. In the meantime, Mindscape there was nothing but white where Naruto was floating. He asked, where am I? A loud voice asked, do you want power? Who's there? The voice asked once more, do you want power? The blonde paused to think. Yes, was his final response. Why do you want power? To protect those who are dear to me. I see. Silver ribbons then materialized and quickly encircled the boy's right arm. Naruto gave a little cry of agony, but it was short-lived. Meanwhile, outside everyone's attention was now drawn to a pillar of light that had emerged with silver ribbons. Haruka rushes to the side of the blonde child. The light soon faded, and everyone could see the boy's right hand glowing on the back before purple crystals took over. After giving her a quick glance, Naruto said, I'm sorry, but I'm going to borrow your heart for a minute. Before Haruka knew it, Naruto had placed his hand inside her chest and a spot on her chest had begun to glow. As Naruto extracted her void, Haruka moaned a little. When Naruto produced a metallic gauntlet, everyone was shocked, but they were even more shocked when he began to move at a speed that would be difficult for a high chunin to match. Almost immediately after Naruto began chopping people in half, the gauntlet launched its hand at those attempting to flee. There was a chain attached to the hand. The tips of the hand fingers were sharp and now spear-shaped. It sliced these guys through butter like a hot knife. The hand made 290-degree turns after one of the men ducked it, but before it could reach the poor bastard, it opened up and seized the man's head. Pulse blast. The man's body was now being penetrated by red waves of energy. When Naruto finished, his body was as dark as charcoal, and everyone could hear his screams. A powerful jet of water was directed at the boy, but Naruto called the hand back and turned to face the direction from which the water was coming. You bastard, you'll pay sweeten. Miserapa. When he opened his hand, red waves of energy emerged from the gauntlet, which was functioning as a shield. Nobody had anticipated that, and everyone was shocked. It's just a fluke, hit him with everything you got. Yeah, it's just one kid. The boy was now the target of various forms of jutsu, but his shield held firm. It was Naruto's turn to strike now. A red ball of energy emerged and began to enlarge. As he launched his attack, Naruto uttered the words, disappear. His opponents were struck by a massive energy beam. The attack stunned the two Kumo nin who were still conscious. The forest where the beam struck had vanished, as if it had been erased from the void, and Naruto had lost consciousness. C remarked, this can't be real. Darui was now approaching the boy and said, that last attack was just as strong as Kurabi-sama attack. Haruka exclaimed, what the hell happened? Upon witnessing the disappearance of the once luxuriant forest. C tried to fill in the blanks for her by saying, this kid, he pulled something out of you body. The Raikage would want to see this, so Haruka said, we need to take this kid with us to Kumo now. The other two nodded in agreement. 2 days later. Office of the Hokage. Sensei, we followed Naruto's trail to a river, but then it fades out, not even the Inuzuka could track it anymore. I'm sorry Sensei, if only I didn't take that mission I could have. The Yondaime was letting a few tears escape his eyes as he hugged his wife, who was crying uncontrollably, and he said, Kakashi, thank you for everything. Please leave me and Kushi-chan alone for a little bit. After bowing, Kakashi walked away. Minato began to cry as much as his wife because he was unable to control himself. Kumo Raikage's office. In the meantime, the Raikage was up against the strongest foe he had yet encountered. This was the dreaded paperwork that every Kage dreaded, because no matter how many times he struck his opponent, it would return stronger than before. Darui, C, and Haruka rushed in, saying, wait, you can't just. Raikage. Sama. What? They asked, startled by their unexpected behavior. When they reached the part about Naruto, Darui's eyes widened as he started to describe their mission. So you're telling me that a kid took out 30 men in under 5 minutes and he has a power that could rival Kurabi-tailed Beast Bomb? All three of them nodded. So where is he? The Raikage now had a worried expression on his face as Darui stated, Raikage. Sama, the boy is currently in the hospital. After his battle he hasn't woken up. The Raikage grinned and said, perfect timing, as someone entered the room and said, Darui. Sama the child has woken up. The Raikage said, come on, let's go, as they made their way to the hospital. A boy's blue eyes were beginning to open. When he first realized he was in what appeared to be a hospital, he was a little clam, but then he remembered the man who had stabbed him. He looked at his hand quickly and was startled to see that it was completely covered in purple crystals instead of any wounds or scars. At this point, he can recall what happened. His actions caused him to start throwing up a little. He began to cry as well. The boy continued to cry as a group of 4 people soon entered the room. Who or why you guys? The tall man declared, I am the Yondaime Raikage of Kumo. It occurred to Naruto, I'm really far away from Konoha. Kid, would you please tell me your name? The name, Naruto Namikaze, causes everyone's eyes to enlarge. Naruto, just what were you doing all the way in the art territory, especially by yourself? I was chased out of Konoha. Just what do you mean? How can the son of a Kage be chased out of his own village? Then, with a dejected expression, Naruto started to explain to them that his parents didn't want to help him because they thought he was a failure and were all focused on his sister Yui. Nobody would even address him by name. He went on to tell them that he would pull practical jokes to gain attention, but this only made matters worse. He was no longer even recognized by the populace as the son of the Hokage. A few days later, he recounted the night to them once more. How dare those Konoha bastards do that to this boy? The Raikage yelled. Everyone's eyes widened as the Raikage turned to face Naruto and said, Naruto Namikaze, I want you to be a ninja for Kumo. Why do you want me? I'm a failure, a freak and a murder. Naruto, you're not a failure. You have a lot of potential and you are not a murderer. Those men attacked you first, it was self-defense, and you are most certainly not a freak. C said, are you sure about this, Raikage? Sama? This could lead to war. However, the Raikage turned back to face Naruto. I don't care about that. So Naruto, what do you say? I will. I mean, if my own village doesn't want me, then I guess I'd be an idiot not to join you guys. Before the Raikage spoke, the room was silent. Sadarui asked, Sir, who will train the boy? Everybody but Naruto's mouth dropped when he said, I will train the boy. So boy, what do you say? Naruto shed a few tears, but these were different tears, so they were tears of Hoya, and said, thank you. Quote, Haruka said, Naruto, please try and focus. Why? After closing his eyes for a few seconds, the boy's arm returned to normal. Just try and imagine your arm normal again. The boy exclaimed, hey, it worked, with joy in his voice. Okay, now we just need to find him some housing. Waiting for an answer, Haruka said, Raikage. Sama, if I may speak. You may. I want to adopt the boy. C's and Darui's eyes widen. The Raikage questioned, Haruka, are you serious? Yes, and it's not only because I have the most knowledge of his power, but also I feeling like I bonded with the boy. What do you mean? The other was curious as to what she was referring to when she said, well, when he pulled out my void, I felt like I was a part of him. So Naruto, would it be okay if I became your mama? In fact, the boy was beginning to feel as though he was wanted. Naruto said, Hi Okawa-san. In such a sweet way that no woman could resist giving the boy their best embrace. Kawaii, Haruka's embrace was now killing the boy. Ka-san can't breath. Haruka released Naruto and said, oh sorry. The Raikage walked out of the room, saying, I guess I'll get started with the paperwork. Haruka, come with me. Naruto simply nodded in agreement when Haruka said, Naruto, I'll be back in a little bit to pick you up, so for now rest. Okay. Haruka then smiled at the boy and kissed his forehead. The Raikage's office a day later. Naruto, in order to protect yourself, if you ever meet any shinobi from Konoha, you are to go by the name Omashu, and we'll put up a powerful genjutsu to change the way you look. It said to the child, who was only nodding in acceptance. Also, when you start the academy, you will come to Train Ground 4 for training. For now you are to work on your chakra control. Hi Agigi. The boy said, grinning, and he went off to train. Fourth training ground. The boy was exerting himself to the limit. Who's there? A few tense seconds later, a girl with red eyes and pink hair who appeared to be around his age appeared behind a tree. When Naruto saw this girl, he was unsure of his feelings, and the girl was also experiencing something that seemed to call her to this boy. Hi, he said, blushing slightly. The girl, who was also blushing, said, Hi. After a few more seconds, Naruto asked, so what's your name? Yuzuriya Inori, and yours? Oma Naruto. The feeling grew stronger as the two drew nearer. Naruto was overcome by a sensation, and he placed his hand on the Inori's chest before drawing a massive sword that caused a massive pillar of light to emerge. Kumo's version of Anbu, cloud units, appeared within 3 minutes of the event. After 2 more minutes, arrived. Naruto, what happened? Gigi, I don't know what came over me, something told me to grab her void. Now, the Raikage pondered whether his ability was beckoning to those with powerful voids. After sending the cloud away, spoke with Inori to ask if he could complete some tests. 1 year later, Naruto joined the academy today, and although his training with the Raikage was harsh, it warned that things would become much more difficult going forward. Inori was fortunate enough to be in his class. Many of the boys in Naruto's class were envious of him because Inori was so adorable and reclusive, and many Naruto fangirls detested Inori not only for her appearance but also for her close relationship with Naruto. This was not the case for every student in their class. They were very friendly with a girl named Ace, who had brown hair. For Kunoichi of the year, Ace, Inori, and Samui were tied. The two were also friends with Samui, Omoi, and Karui. Graduation 4 years later. Only a handful of Junins could keep up with Naruto, who had grown far more powerful than a typical genin. When Naruto won Genin of the Year, it was expected. It was time for them to work together, though. Naruto was pleased to be with 2 of his closest friends, but the majority of the boys in the classroom were staring at him with jealousy. All right, Team 4 will be Naruto Oma, Inori Yuzuriya, and Ace Shinomiya, and your sensei will be Darui. Team 5 will be Samui, Omoi, and Karui, and your sensei will be Karabi. Sama. Darui arrived shortly after and took his genin. Rooftop. So from now on we'll be working together. We should introduce ourselves. Naruto, you start. I'm Naruto Oma. My likes are ramen, my friends and family. My dislike are those who do not see a person for who they truly are. My hobbies is training and trying out new ramen flavors. My dream is to become the Raikage. Alright, that was good. Inori, you're up. I'm Inori Yuzuriya. My likes are my friends and family. My dislikes are those who give up too early. My hobbies are training and singing. My dream, I haven't really thought about that. Alright Ace, your turn. I'm Ace Shinomiya. My likes are my friends and teammates. My dislikes are those who don't try their best. My hobbies are training and walks around Kumo. My dream is to show the women can if not be better ninjas than men. Alright, I'm Darui. My likes are Kumo and hard workers. My dislikes are the enemies of Kumo. I don't really have hobbies. My dream is to protect Kumo. Now that's done, meet me tomorrow at 8 o'clock am for a survival exercise. As Darui departed, the 3 said, hi. Naruto said, well, see you 2 tomorrow, and walked away. Half an hour later. Tadaima, Naruto exclaimed as he removed his shoes. Haruka, who was preparing lunch, said, Okari Naruto. So whose team did you get put on? Darui is my teacher, Inori and Ace are my teammates. Oh, that perfect. Darui will definitely teach you guys well. Now, Naruto was having lunch with his adoptive mother, who was making fun of him for forming his own small harem with Ace and Inori. In the meantime, Konoha, after the loss of Naruto, Yui's father took her out of the academy for 2 years so she could be with her family. After those 2 years, she was still the best student in the class, surpassing even the final Uchiha. She has the exact same hair color as her mother and wore the same clothes as her when she was a girl. The whisker marks are the only thing that separate her from Kushina. Haruka's team placement today is still in progress. Haruka declared, Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Yui Namikaze. Your sensei will be Kakashi Hitaki. The group then waited for Kakashi to enter for 2 hours. After saying, yo, to Kakashi, Sakura simply exploded. Angry, Sakura screamed, yo my ass, we've been waiting for 2 hours too. Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes, rooftop. Alright, why don't you introduce yourselves, one at a time? Sakura responded, introduce ourselves. Well, what are we supposed to say? Things you like, things you hate, dreams for the future, hobbies. Things like that. Why don't you tell us stuff first? I mean, before we talk, tell us about you so we can see how it's supposed to work, Yui said. Me? I'm Kakashi Hitaki. Things I like and things I hate. I don't feel like telling you that. My dreams for the future, never really thought about it. As for my hobbies, I have lots of hobbies. Sakura scowled and said, that was totally useless. All he really told us was his name. Okay, your turn. You on the right, you first. Everyone looked at Yui. I'm Yui Namikaze. My likes are ramen, my friend and family. My dislike are those who judge other before getting to know them and the 3 minutes you have to wait to eat ramen. My hobbies are training and eating. My dream is to find someone and bring him home. She must be talking about Naruto. She still believes he's alive. Kakashi was thinking. Alright, next. I'm Sakura Haruno. What I like, I mean the person I like is. Sakura grinned broadly and turned to face Sasuke. My hobby is, my dream for the future is. She giggles. Kakashi inquired, and, what do you hate? Ino.pig, is what she says bluntly. Kakashi rested his hand on his. Great a fangirl. The one in the middle. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I hate a lot of things, and I don't particularly like anything. What I have is not a dream because I will make it a reality. I'm going to restore my clan, and destroy a certain someone. He was the center of attention. This team will require a lot of work because they have a great fangirl, an avenger, and one good kunoichi. Alright. Each of you is different and has your own thoughts. Our first mission is scheduled for tomorrow. Sakura inquired, what is our mission tomorrow? A survival exercise. I believed that rather than more practice, we were supposed to have a genuine mission. We arrived here because we had already completed this work at the academy, Sakura remarked. In response, Kakashi said, this is not like your previous training. Well, then, what sort of training is it? Now, Yui was curious. Kakashi bursts out laughing. Hey, wait, that's a common query. Why is it so funny? Sakura inquired. If I tell you the answer, you're not going to like it. Tell us, damn it. Only 9 of the 27 graduates who came here will be accepted as genin, Kakashi stated gravely. The remaining 18 will be sent back to the academy after being weeded out. Or, to put it another way, this is a pass-fail test. Additionally, there is a minimum of a 60.6% chance that you will fail. What, but we didn't come here just to be sent back, said Sakura. The group dispersed after hearing the statement, then you better pass, oh don't eat breakfast, you'll puke. The following day, Kumo Training Ground 4 at 8 a.m. About 15 minutes before their sensei arrived, the genin arrived. Naruto was dressed in a black jacket and black pants and a white shirt, which is Shu's funeral parlor attire. Inori was dressed similarly to Fu, but hers was red, and Ace was dressed similarly to Yugito Ni. The second Darui showed up at 8 a.m. and said, I'm glad none of you are late. The 3 genin replied, good morning sensei. Alright, this exercise is simple, all you have to do is grab my sword, but it will depend on how you take my sword if I'll pass you. It was teamwork that the 3 genin believed. Alright, you have an hour to start using my sword. Now, Darui uttered as the 3 genin vanished behind the surrounding rocks in unison. As he vanished, Darui thought, they already figured out the point of this exercise. Alright, Ace. Chan, I'll use your void and while you two attack, I'll grab the sword. Naruto and his 2 teammates were brainstorming a plan to obtain Darui's sword. Wait, last time you grabbed my void thing I passed out. Well, I've been training a lot with the void genome and now I can pull out a person's void without causing them to pass out. Then why not pull out Inori? Chan's, you almost destroyed an entire mountain last time. Do you want me to kill him? Plus it's a teamwork exercise, if I did all the you two would fail. Fine, but if it hurts I'll kill you. Inori began to chuckle. What, Inori? Trust me, it won't hurt, it's going to be the opposite. Ace. Huh. She was taken aback when Naruto began to gaze into her eyes as if he were about to confess his love to her, causing her to blush. She was even more taken aback when she experienced an amazing sense of warmth. Nah. Naruto. Naruto's legs now held a pair of shoes. Let's do this. After Naruto finished speaking, the 3 of them emerged from their hiding place and began attacking Darui. Inori and Ace started attacking Darui because they knew Naruto would need some time to complete this plan. Doden. Doryuden. A mud-carved dragon's head emerged from the earth and began hurling mudballs at Darui. Darui was forced to sidestep the attack and drew 2 kunai before charging at Ace, but before he could hit her, a crystal stalagmite emerged from the ground, blocking his attack. Darui was barely able to block the crystal blade that came from Inori's hand, and he noticed that she had small crystals on her cheek, as well as the violent expression on her face. Inori then began to unleash a rapid barrage of slashes that Darui had to focus in order to block. Her speed is good, even a high Chunin would have trouble keeping up. Inori, your speed is good, but you'll need to do much better if you want to beat me. Inori just smiles. I don't intend to defeat you. This is how good Naruto is. Perfect. Naruto's body was now coated in electricity, and he began to move so quickly that even the Raikage would be outpaced. Less than a second later, Naruto was behind Darui, snatched the sword from his back, and kicked him in the ribs, causing a large hole in the ground as he landed. One thing was certain, though: they passed. After an hour, Darui felt as though a train had struck him. Naruto grinned dorkishly and said, "So sensei, do we pass?" "Yes, you two demonstrated total faith in one another. Keep in mind that a team can only be as strong as its weakest member." There were cheers of joy from the 3 genin. As he walked away, Darui said, "Okay, so tomorrow we'll start doing some missions, be ready." The Raikage's office a little later. "Alright, so who passed?" A Junin said, "Team 1 fail, Team 2 fail, Team 3 fail, Team 4 pass," Darui declared. Many of the Junin developed big sweat drops as a result of hearing the statement. Team 5 now be riding with the bee. One more Junin said, Team 6 pass, Team 7 pass, Team 8 pass, Team 9 pass, Team 10 fail. A smiled and said, 6 out of 10 passed, that's good. In the meantime, Konoha, the genin of Team 7, were awaiting the arrival of their sensei. Sakura yelled, almost drowning out her teammates, "It's been an hour and a half, where the hell is he?" It would be another hour before their sensei arrived, so Yui tried to reassure Sakura that he would be here shortly, but to no avail. "Yo. You're running late. Sorry, a black cat crossed my path, so I had to take the long way around." "Yeah, right." To prevent ear damage, Sasuke and Yui had to cover their ears. Kakashi took out a clock and said, "Well, let's get started." He produced a pair of bells. "In order to pass this test, you must take a bell from me." But Kakashi. "Sensei, there's only 2 bells." The other's eyes open in surprise as they hear, "That's because the one who doesn't get a bell will be sent back to the academy." Each of the genin was thinking, "There's no way I'm going back." They all dispersed after hearing the words, "You have 1 hour." After a couple of minutes, each genin was considering how to obtain the bells. What the hell? No genin can beat a Junin, especially ones fresh from the academy. She took a step toward Sakura and said, "Wait a minute, that's it." "Yui, what are you doing here?" Sakura, the point of the exercise is to use teamwork. But there's only 2 bells. The bells don't matter, we have to just use teamwork. I'll do it if you can get Sasuke-kun to help us. I'll try, but you know how he'll act. Yui then approached Sasuke, who was concealed in a tree. "Sasuke, we need to work together. I do need any help, I'm an elite." "Sasuke, don't you get the point of this test is to build teamwork?" Sasuke's expression changed to one of, "You're right. Yui, I've never heard of a genin team consisting of just 3 people." "Exactly, now here's plan." She gave Sakura the order to attack after discussing the plan with Sasuke and Sakura. Sakura came out and began throwing a couple of paper bombs at Kakashi, who was waiting for their move out in the open. He moved away from the explosions with ease, but was startled when 2 chains of chakra emerged from the ground and wrapped around his leg. As he tried to escape, he thought, "Yui, clever plan." Sasuke saw this as his opportunity to grab the bell, and he nearly did so until Kakashi replaced it with a nearby log, at which point the alarm went off. Now depressed, Yui said, "Damn it, we were close. Even though you didn't get the bells, you still showed great teamwork, you pass." The faces of the 2 kunoichi brightened, and Sasuke smiled slightly. As Kakashi walked away, he said, "Well then, tomorrow we'll start doing missions." "So Sasuke wants to join me for a date?" Sakura received a, "Are you serious?" face from Sasuke before he departed. The Hokage's office. A short time later, Minato was sitting in his office with Tenjunin when he asked, "So which of the genin passed?" Team 1A6 was defeated, but Kakashi was the exception. The statement, "Team 7 pass," by Kakashi left everyone wondering who these genin were in order to get Kakashi to pass a team. Team 8 fail. Team 9 pass. Team 10 pass. Seeing that only 3 teams make it through makes me a little sad. I'll need to review and improve the curriculum. You're fired. After bowing, the Junin departed the room. Minato returned to the Never, ending stacks of paperwork and said, "Naruto, I'm sure you would have passed as well." Void's Singer Sword. This is Inori's void. Its length is unknown, but it is significantly longer than Naruto's height. It improves Naruto's physical prowess, allowing him to run up walls and actually lift the sword. It can produce stepping stones or discs that serve as shields. It can also produce metallic strips that can be used as projectiles to slice objects. And it has a very sharp blade. The paraplegic's shoes, leg prosthetics, eyes is void, which enables Naruto to fly and move at high speeds. A disadvantage of the void is that those whom Naruto has drawn will also perish if he dies with the assimilated voids of others. King's Heart. This is Naruto's void, which enables him to store and summon other voids whenever he sees fit. The void that gathers everything and assumes its weight by bearing the weight of others' strength, weaknesses, light, darkness. Everything. However, Naruto can only give teammates additional voids for a limited period of time. The void is based on the Gurren MK2 right arm and is called a woman's wrath. It is a gauntlet that can easily cut through people, extend and chase enemies, and emit energy waves that can fry a person. These waves can also serve as a shield. Its greatest feature is its energy beam blast, which can rival a tailed beast bomb. Kumo. A month later, the Raikage decided it was time to give them a more challenging task after they had been completing a variety of C-rank missions for a month. The genin looked at him excitedly as they said, "Team 4, it's time for you to do a B-rank mission." Naruto said, "Hell yeah Dadbayo," which caused the other two to chuckle. "Now calm down. This mission was sent to us by the daimyo of the Land of Waves." Well, but wouldn't a nearby village like Konoha or Kiri be able to assist him? Ace made a valid point that caused the other person to ponder as well. Ace, you're right, but the daimyo won't be able to pay us right away due to a nasty little piece of shit named Gatu. Let me guess, this guy has taken control of the ports and our job is to kill him. Naruto, you catch on fast. Yes, your mission is to assassinate Gatu and free the Land of Waves. All right, let's leave. As he walked away, Naruto uttered those words. I held out a couple of paper tags and said, "Wait Naruto, you'll need these." Naruto's eyes conveyed his discomfort. "Wait, there are going to be Konoha Nin on the mission. Although we haven't met, there's a good chance that we will." As he gave Naruto the tags, he remarked, "Hey, it's better safe than sorry. Girls, remember, if there are people from Konoha, you need to call Naruto's shoe." All the two Kunoichi could do was nod. 3 nodded in agreement. "Meet me by the village gate in an hour." After an hour, according to Darui, well, then we should get going, as he. Ace was wondering if she had packed enough supplies and asked, "Wait, how long should it take us to get there?" "Well, it should take us about 5 days. 5 days. She only made a 3-day pact, which devastated Ace. "Ace, don't worry, if it's about food, I packed enough for 20 days. Ace was currently carrying the largest bag in the group, while Naruto, Inori, and Darui were carrying smaller, more manageable bags. "Yeah, and where the hell are you carrying it? It can't be in that little bag." "Ace, don't tell me you didn't put your supplies in scrolls." "Huh." As Darui began to flee from the furious Ace, who was chasing him, he said, "Ace, let this be your first lesson about life from me, always pack smart. This is going to be a long trip, isn't Inori?" Inori's adorable face when responding to Naruto made the boy want to give her a hug, but he managed to control himself. Konoha. 3 days later. Yui pointed to her scratched face, which was caused by none other than Tora the cat, and said, "This fucking cat, I can't take it anymore. 2.San, we need a different mission than these household chorus." "Well, if Kakashi says so. Hi, I think this team is good enough." The genin faces lit up as soon as Minato said, Kakashi, there's this C-rank mission to the Land of Wave." Kakashi turned to his old teacher and asked, "All right, so what's the mission, Hokage?" "Dono. Bring Tazuna-san in." According to Minato, an Anbu member obeyed the Hokage's orders, and shortly after, an elderly man in gray clothes and a pointed hat entered. "Team 7, this is Tazuna, a master bridge. Make your job is to escort him back to his hometown and protect him while he makes his bridge," said Minato. A couple of hours later, Kakashi and Yui appeared to notice that Team 7 and their VIP were passing a pond in the middle of the road. When two masked men emerged, Yui and Sasuke easily defeated the two attackers, particularly after Yui struck her victim with a Rasengan. Sakura arched an eyebrow when Yui said, "Kakashi Sensei, you can come out now." Yui. "Chan, Kakashi's dead, not exactly Sakura," Kakashi remarked as he emerged from the surrounding shrubbery. Kakashi Sensei, why did? To test you, which I am disappointed in your reaction, Sakura. Sasuke, you were good in being ready. Yui did great, and the other reason I didn't saying anything was to see who their target was. Now Tazuna-san, you have some explaining to do. Kakashi spoke in a serious manner. What are you saying? It is not appropriate for missing nin to be on a C-rank mission. Kakashi became enraged and declared that any mission that had the potential to encounter any missing nin was at the very least a B-rank mission. Tazuna begged them not to turn around and go home, saying, "Please understand, my town is being suppressed by a man named Gato. Please just protect me until the bridge is finished." Together with Sasuke, who didn't want to go back because this was a good way to test his abilities, Sakura simply followed Sasuke, and Yui said, "Kakashi Sensei, he must have had his reasons, let's help him out." Tazuna-san, normally we wouldn't continue, but I guess we could. In the Land of Waves, 2 days later. All right, we have some fresh information. According to Kiri, Gato has hired Zabuza Momochi, a missing nin who was formerly one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Our current goals are to apprehend Zabuza and force him to provide us with Gato's location. Darui was reading a message he had received via messenger bird that stated, "The mission has now been changed from B rank to A rank." Ace was now irritated and said, "This just got a lot harder." Inori was soothing the girl with the brown hair, saying, "Don't worry, we'll be fine, Ace. I know, I just hate when we have to do more work." Naruto commanded everyone's attention by saying, "Wait, stop." With a serious tone, Darui asked, "What is it, Naruto?" "There, I see 4 nin, they appear to be from Konoha. His Imouto and his father's student Kakashi Hitaki the copy nin were the 2 individuals Naruto hoped he would never see again." This attracted everyone's attention, and Naruto produced one of the tags the Raikage had given him. Naruto's appearance changed. His hair was brown instead of blonde. His hairstyle was let down instead of spiky. His eyes were brown, and his whisker marks had vanished. He looks exactly like Shu. The other 3 members of his group merely nodded in agreement as he added, "Remember, don't use my real name." As our group of Kumo nin approached the town, they sensed a murderous intent to kill and searched for its source, but Naruto became ill upon realizing that it was emanating from a mist-covered area and that he could sense the chakra of the 4 Konoha nin from earlier. His group moved out to assist the Konoha nin, saying, of course he would attack them. Team 7 in the interim. Tazuna was currently surrounded by Team 7 to keep Zabuza away from him, but they were unable to locate him due to the fog. Sakura and Sasuke began to breathe heavily after Zabuza sent a killing intent. Yui was unharmed because her father had been training and dealing with the Kyuubi, while Sasuke appeared to be about to stab himself in the neck. "Calm down, Sasuke. I will not allow anyone to perish. Believe me," Kakashi said, causing the final Uchiha to relax and become more attentive. Zabuza then materialized in front of Kakashi and made a few hand gestures before saying, "Suira no Jutsu." Suddenly, Kakashi was encased in a sphere of water, trapping him inside. Oh, such touching words. But Kakashi, you should never look away from your opponent. Damn it. Go, I'll be fine, just keep Tazuna safe. Yui was trying to come up with a plan when she said, "Kakashi Sensei, we know that if he kills you we'll be next, we're no match for him. This is an order." The sphere that was holding Kakashi vanished, and he fell to the water's surface. All of the mist was suddenly dispelled by a strong gust of wind. Team 7 turned to see the source of the new voice, a boy no older than themselves with brown hair and a Kumo headband, but what really caught their attention was the enormous blade he was holding. "Damn, I was wishing that we didn't have to step in," the voice said. "Why does he look familiar?" Yui thought she recognized this boy. "What on earth are you?" Zabuza uttered those words as he emerged onto the water's surface. The group turned to the source of the new voice and saw a dark-skinned man with white hair, accompanied by two girls, one with brown hair and the other with pink. "Shu, don't just rush in there," said another new voice. "I apologize, Darui Sensei. I'll make this quick, so don't worry. Remember Shu, we need him alive." After hearing that comment for Zabuza, Darui could only hope Naruto would hold back. "You think this kid is going to beat me?" All 7 members of the team were impressed by Naruto's speed as he charged at Zabuza, and they started fighting with their swords. "Damn it, how can a kid keep up with me?" Zabuza was doing his best to keep up with Naruto, but he was soon overwhelmed, and fractures in the Kabikariba-cha began to appear. Then, out of instinct, Zabuza ducked, saving his life as Naruto unleashed a slash of metallic strips that destroyed many trees behind him. Everyone's eyes, with the exception of Kumo's, widened in shock at what the boy had done. Now that he was aware of Naruto's power, Zabuza was attempting to flee, thinking, "Are you serious? No kid should have this kind of power. Who exactly is this child?" Kakashi was very curious. He started to look at Naruto with his Sharingan. What the hell? No chakra is being used by him. Kakashi was now curious about the exact type of power this boy was employing. Sasuke was trying to think of a way to get this guy to tell him how he got this power so he could kill Itachi when he thought, "This power, I'll get him to tell me how to get it." Everyone stopped thinking when they heard the man with the white yell, but Yui thought, "This power is easily Junin. How can a kid the same age as me be so much stronger? Damn it, Shu, he must be alive and well. Sorry, I didn't hold back as much as I wanted to." Now that they knew Naruto wasn't going all out, they all thought in disbelief he was holding back. Zabuza was finally losing after a short while, and a Senbon needle struck him in the neck just as Naruto was ready to capture him. "What the?" A man wearing a Hunter.Nin mask picked up the body and said, "Thank you, I've been chasing after this man for weeks now." Naruto now let go of the Singer sword and said, "Damn it, we lost our only lead to Gato." "Wait, you're after Gato too?" "Yep, your daimyo asked Kumo to send a team and kill Gato. Of course, we know of your country's financial situation, so I'm leaving to talk with your daimyo, my genin, here to protect you until I get back," Darui stated as he began his departure. Kakashi was now seriously considering giving his own genin an intense training because, in contrast to these Kumo genin, he needed a lot of work. These guys are only genin. When Inori noticed that Naruto wouldn't let her live with him, she asked, "Tazuna.san, do you know where we can get some housing?" "Oh, my place can hold all of you guys for a while." Naruto thought, why God, why? He would have to live with these people. After saying, "Okay, we should get," Kakashi collapsed to the ground. "Kakashi Sensei," his 3 genin let out a scream. Ace approached the ninja in the mask and said, "Don't worry, he'll be fine. He's just suffering from chakra exhaustion." While pointing to Naruto, Sasuke said, "Hey, you help me carry Kakashi Sensei." Naruto appeared to have been instructed to completely stop eating ramen. Ace could sense that her teammate was depressed and said, "Come on Shu, it will be fine." Sakura approached the group and asked, is he okay?" "Yeah, he is. He just get like this sometimes." "Oh, okay." After a short while, Tsunami answered the door when she heard someone knocking while she was just finishing up some housework. "Odo.san, oh, you have company." "Tsunami, these are the people who will protect me and my men as we work on the bridge, plus these 3 aren't going to be the ones to kill Gato." "It nice to meet you, AA. Shu Oma, Inori Ujiria, Ace Shinomiya, Yui Namikaze, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno." Yui and Sasuke then shifted their sensei to the couch close by and said, "And the one out cold is Kakashi Hitaki." Naruto and his 2 teammates sat at the table and asked, "Now then, what are we gonna do about Gato? We could split up and search the area." "Ace, I think we would just be wasting time and energy if we did that." Inori caught everyone's attention by saying, "How about we just wait until Zabuza returns, then we can capture him." Inori.san, what do you mean Zabuza is dead? Yui replied. Kakashi, who just woke up, said, actually no, Zabuza is very much alive. You okay, Kakashi? Sensei? Sakura, who was attempting to assist him in standing up. I'm fine, but we need to get started on your guys' training. Ayame was attempting to persuade Kakashi.san to sit down when she said, wait, you shouldn't be moving so much. If I don't do too much, I'll be alright. What weapon did the hunter.nin use to kill Zabuza, as I was saying? Inori was leaving her teammates wondering how much more she knew when she said, a senbon needle which is hard to kill someone with. Exactly, Inori.san, also Hunter Nin are supposed to burn the body on the spot, so why didn't he? Because he is phony. As he was leaving the house, Naruto remarked, well, it looks like I'll get around too. Where are you heading, Shu? Inori feared he would make a foolish move. Naruto walked out of the house and said, oh, just out for a walk. Docks 3 hours later after entering the Land of Waves dock, Naruto thought, damn, it looks like Gato isn't here. Naruto had spent the majority of the 3 hours searching the area, dodging the thugs Gato had hired to guard it, and had so far only discovered weapons and drugs inside the crates. Naruto was looking for any hints that would help him locate Gato. Come on, there must be something here I can use to figure out where he is. Naruto was reading through the list of trading partners Gato had when he soon discovered something very intriguing, a record of all the recent shipments. One in particular caught his attention. GHQ, why does this name sound familiar to me? Naruto wanted to find out what sort of shipment this group had with Gato. Alright, Section B is where they are. Numbers of crates 114A-117. Ah, found them. Naruto walked up to the first few crates and found nothing of much use, just normal weapons, but the last crate there was something that caught his eye. A single silver suitcase. Naruto had a feeling that he needed to open it. He started to walk up to it, and as he got closer to it his right hand started to glow. What the hell is in this thing? The void genome was the last thing Naruto anticipated finding. I believe that mine was the only one in the entire world. Naruto discovered 2 tubes with the pink glowing helix. Gigi will love to see this. Naruto swiftly replaced the real tubes with fakes, sealed the 2 tubes inside a scroll, and applied a blood seal to the scroll, allowing only his blood to open it. Naruto decided it was time to go after hearing some footsteps close by. Later that evening, as he came back, Naruto declared, I'm back. With a very somber tone, Inori asked, Shu, where were you? She was obviously furious. Sorry, I found some thugs and they tried to attack me, sigh. Smack. Ow, Ace, what was that for? As angry as she was, Ace said, Shu, stop being so reckless. If appearances could kill, Inori and Ace would do just that. Okay, I'm sorry, please just stop with the looks. As the 2 groups made their way to the table, Tsunami said, hey, dinner's ready. Naruto noticed that Sasuke was inhaling the food and had a very irritated expression on his face shortly after they began eating. What's wrong with him? Yui remarked, oh, he's just a little mad that he still hasn't mastered the tree climbing exercise. Sasuke merely uttered a HN while he kept eating. Wow, tree climbing was part of our second-year curriculum. Konoha must be pretty behind if he doesn't know how to do this. Naruto was now continuing to eat. Unavoidably, Naruto saw the child glaring at him. Inari, it's not polite to stare. You guys ought to go. To get Naruto's attention, the boy said, you'll be wasting your life if you stay here. Oh, why is that? 2.San failed to defeat Gato and you'll end up the same. Oh, so you're just going to give up because your father passed away? Kid, right now would are making your father's sacrifice worth less. Naruto's statement caused everyone's eyes to widen, but Inari became enraged. Just what do you know about 2.San? You have no idea what I feel like. My own parents left me, kid. You still have your mother, and at least your father loved you. They never gave me much attention before they left. Inari ran to his room, and Naruto was on his way to the door. They were more focused on my sibling because my sibling was a natural genius, so I know and what it's like, but do you see me crying over it? No, I'm doing something about it. Where are you heading, Shu? Inori took Naruto's hand in hers. The girl gave Naruto a face that said, please don't go, but Naruto didn't notice. I'm just going out to train, I'll be back in a little bit. Forest a few minutes later. After making his way to a forest area quite a distance from the town, Naruto said, "This should be far enough." Kaju Kage no Bunshin. Naruto created 100 clones. I'm glad that I was able to look at the forbidden scroll before I kick out of Konoha. This make training so much easier. He attacked the clones without warning, and after causing 3 of them to vanish into smoke, the others understood and began to defend themselves. I can't always rely on the power of voids. Naruto was training with only his own ninjutsu and no voids. Explosions and the sound of numerous kunai clashes filled the forest that night. Morning, same location. While searching the forest for herbs to help heal Zabuza, Haku came across what appeared to be a war zone. Trees that had been snapped in half, burn marks on the floor, and numerous spots where it appeared as though lightning had struck. However, what shocked Haku the most was a crater in the middle of which was a blonde boy wearing a Kumo headband. The sun was shining on Naruto as he opened his eyes and began to look around, noticing a lovely girl close by. Haku was staring at the blonde, so Naruto asked, is there something on my face?" "Oh, nothing. I've never seen someone with naturally blonde hair. Are those whiskers on your cheeks?" "Ah, these are birthmarks." "Shit, the genjutsu isn't on. Who are you, then?" "I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Haku, and what's your name?" "This is Shu." "Tell me, Haku-san, what you're doing out here?" "I'm just getting some herbs for a friend." "Ah, do you need assistance?" "Sure, I would like that." As Naruto and Haku started gathering herbs, they began discussing themselves. "Do you have a special someone in your life?" "I do, I have a few." "Is that the reason you're working to strengthen yourself?" "Yes, it is. I want to be able to protect them. I see anyone can become strong if they have something to protect." "So Haku-san, do you have someone close to you?" "Hi, I do as well, but I could never become strong to protect him." "I'm sure you could if you trained hard enough." Haku had finished and was walking away when he said, "Oh Shu-san, one more thing. I'm a boy." On his way back to Tazuna's house, Naruto was too shocked to say anything more than, "What the fuck, man, he's almost as cute as Inori." Naruto put on another piece of paper that would cast the genjutsu on the way back. At Tazuna's house again, Ace was reprimanding Naruto, saying, "I'll only be gone for a little bit, were those not your words? Inori waited the whole night for your return. I'm sorry, I lost track of time. Shu, you can be such a baka sometimes." On the opposite side of the room, the Tazuna household and the Konoha team aside from Sasuke were attempting to contain their laughter, but occasionally a little giggle would slip out of their mouths. "Is this how things are always?" With a little chuckle in between, Yui said. Inori, who was most irritated, said, "Only when he acts like a baka." Bridge a few days later. Sasuke was able to finish his training, and Team 7 was defending the bridge. Naruto and his group joined Kakashi, but Ace remained behind to cover the house. Naruto and the others had been busy for the past few days. The bridge soon began to be covered in mist. This mist, it's too late in the day for mist. Zabuza, Yui, Sakura, Sasuke, you 3 protect Tazuna. The statement, Kakashi-san, there's another person with him, by Inori left many wondering who the newcomer was. Before long, they could make out 2 individuals standing side by side. Zabuza remarked, "Ah, so we meet again, Kakashi, Shu-kun. Zabuza, you are going to tell us where Gato is. Make me brat." Naruto summoned the singer sword, and they clashed swords again, with pleasure. In front of the masked nin and the pink-haired Kumo nin, the hunter nin from earlier said, "I shall be your opponent." Kakashi-san, looks as if we got ourselves a battle. It would seem so. Inori made a wall of crystal, but Haku threw ice-based senbon at the 2. "Oh, I see you have a Kekkei Genkai as well." With a kunai in hand, Kakashi engaged Haku, who was brandishing a senbon, in a duel. Haku began making one-handed hand signals, Sensatsu Suisha. Kakashi stepped aside to avoid the attack and landed beside Inori. Under his mask, Haku grinned and said, "Makaya Haya Sha." The 2 were encircled by numerous ice-made mirrors. Haku then began to move much more quickly, and Kakashi was struck by a senbon, which fortunately only stung rather than striking any vital areas. with Naruto in the interim. At the moment, Zabuza was pushing Naruto back, saying, "What's a matter, kid, aren't you gonna kick my ass?" Zabuza saw his opportunity and used a series of hand signals to signal, Sweden. Suiria, Dan no Jutsu. Two water dragons emerged from the sea as Naruto attempted to overpower him. The dragons were cut in half by the metallic strip that was created when Naruto slashed the singer's sword. "Zabuza, it doesn't have to be like this." Zabuza then charged at the boy, saying, "Sorry kid, I'm getting paid to finish off this bridge builder and I aim to please." After merely dodging, Naruto kicked Zabuza in the stomach. Zabuza had the wind struck out of him. "Damn, you have monster strength, kid." "Zabuza, you can't win, give up." "Sorry, that won't happen." "Very well then, I'll get serious." Naruto's speed increased even further. Naruto was moving too quickly for Zabuza to follow with his eyes alone, so he had to move instinctively to block his attacks. Returning with Inori, Haku argued that if he brought the two into his Dome of Doom, he could manage them, but he was mistaken. After switching to combat mode, Inori was faster than Haku, so whenever he would jump from mirror to mirror, she would strike him with a dull version of her crystal blades, which wouldn't kill but sure as hell hurt. Kakashi could easily keep up with Haku's speed when he pulled out his Sharingan. At the moment, his entire body hurt and his breathing was labored. Haku attempted to get away from the mirror when Inori leapt at it, but Inori grabbed him and restrained him. Inori was placing a sharp crystal blade on the boy's neck and saying, "It's over, give up." Haku was crying as he said, I guess I'm now a broken tool." Inori was perplexed by the boy's words but even more so by his behavior. "I apologize for failing you, Zabuza Sama." The boy's request startled Inori and Kakashi, who was standing behind her. "Please, I have one request. Please kill me." "What makes you wish to pass away? A damaged tool is useless. I have no right to be near Zabuza Sama at this time because I am worthless." "That's not a reason to die. My only reason for living is to serve Zabuza Sama. Now that I can't do that, I have no reason to live. But still, to ask me to just kill you is, please, I don't have the will to live on." Inori drew her arm back to stab Haku, saying, "I understand. I'm sorry, but there's still a job for me to do." Haku disappeared in a burst of speed after closing his eyes and waiting for the attack. Just a few seconds before, the Kabikari-Bacha was being cracked by Naruto's constant barrage of slashes as Zabuza was losing badly. When Naruto realized Zabuza's blade was going to shatter, he threw everything he had into his right hand and delivered a forceful blow. Unexpectedly, Naruto struck Haku in the chest, then proceeded to strike him throughout his body, shattering the Kabikari-Bacha. When Naruto saw his arm inside Haku, he was startled and yanked it away, asking, "What the hell, what are you doing here?" Naruto's eyes grew angry at the first words, "Haku, you did well as a tool." With what was left of the Kabikari-Bacha, Zabuza attempted to slit Naruto, but Naruto stopped it with his bare hand. Naruto said in a very low voice, "Shut up." "What? You only saw him as a tool, right? What is it to you, huh? Did you truly never consider him to be more than a tool? He looked up to you and saw you as everything. You alone still view him as a tool despite the fact that he was even prepared to sacrifice his life to save yours. You shouldn't lose your humanity, even though I know shinobi are meant to be emotionless." "Kid, shut up. Why, you don't want to hear the truth?" "No kid, you got your point across." The missing nin's eyes began to well up with tears. "He was too kind for you to say anything more. I'm happy I finally got to meet you all. A shinobi is still a human, so you might be correct. We might not be able to turn into emotionless instruments. So you did care." Everyone's attention was drawn to a new voice that said, "Ah, what a touching moment, but I'm afraid I'm gonna have to interrupt it." At the end of the bridge, they saw a small man surrounded by at least 70 thugs. "Gatu, what the hell are you doing here? I'm afraid, Zabuza, that you let me down too many times, so I got some new guy to do your job instead. Also forget about me paying you." "You bastard, we had a deal." Gatu ordered his mob to attack, saying, "Had Zabuza, now then go get them." All but the 3 genuine Konoha were exhausted from the battle, and Naruto had to put Inori's void away because holding back while wielding the Singer's sword puts a lot of strain on his body. Zabuza realized there was only one way to resolve this. "Damn it, not good. Kid, throw me a kunai, I'll take care of this." A voice interrupted Naruto as he was ready to throw him a kunai. Wait, let him use me one more time. Where are you, Haku? Please, Naruto. I'm sure you can use my heart as a weapon. Permit him to use me one final time, Naruto. Naruto was approaching the lifeless body of Haku when he said, Haku, you're a strange one. When a spot on Haku's chest began to glow, everyone's eyes were wide open in astonishment. They were even more shocked when Naruto reached inside Haku's body and extracted a tiny, jagged rock, which swiftly transformed into a kunai that seemed to be composed of ice. Naruto threw the kunai to Zabuza, who caught it in his hand, saying, Zabuza, Haku told me he wanted to fight till the end with you. This reminds me of Haku's spirit. What did you do, kid? I have the power to bring out another person's hearts and use it as a weapon. Kakashi was astounded to learn that such a power existed and exclaimed, What, that's impossible. A person's heart as a weapon. Yui witnessed this firsthand but was unsure if it was true. Sasuke was now determined to learn how to obtain the power of kings because he believed that, if I had this power I could kill Itachi. At this point, Zabuza launched his assault, and the first victim he slashed turned to ice. It froze him. Kakashi was aware that the report he would have to provide would be extremely difficult. Naturally, this caused some of the thugs to reconsider their attack on Zabuza, but they went ahead anyway. Despite being outnumbered, Zabuza demonstrated why he was known as the Demon of the Mist by destroying them like ants. One of the thugs shouted as he fled, I didn't sign up for this. Soon after, more fled as well, leaving Zabuza and Gato alone. Please wait, I'll pay you anything you want, just let me live. You believe that you can now buy your way out of this? Yes, it's too far for that. Wait, don't do this, I'll do anything. Bring me back Haku. I can't do that. After that, you die. Gato's body was trapped in a frozen prison after Zabuza slashed at him. Shu, I have a request. Please lay me next to Haku, Naruto said as he began to walk toward Zabuza. After picking up Zabuza and placing him beside the ice user, Naruto simply nodded. Zabuza was closing his eyes for the final time when he said, Haku, I wish I could go with you, but where I'm headed isn't the same as you. Great, now our meal ticket's dead, what the hell are we going to do? One of the previously mentioned thugs suddenly showed up on the bridge with the others. As they began to charge, many of the thugs liked the idea of we can raid the town and take what we want. As they approached our group, one of the thugs was struck by an arrow, and everyone wanted to know where it came from. Inari, holding a crossbow, joined Ace and other town residents in forming a mob. Rethink your assumptions if you believe you can simply take what you want. When Inari yelled, the other mob members roared in agreement, and the mob began to pursue the thugs. The following day, when Darui eventually returned, the mob had already begun packing up for Kumo, and he was relieved to hear that Gato was dead but angry to learn that Zabuza had died. Darui asked, All right, did you leave anything behind? To make sure there would be no reason to return immediately. Hi Darui. Sensei. All right, let's go. Tsunami, who had become accustomed to the Kumo Nin and their antics, asked, Do you guys have to leave so soon? Sorry, but we need to report back home as soon as possible. Shu.ni.san, you're leaving. Inari's eyes were watering so hard that he might cry. Yeah, sorry about that, don't worry, I'm sure we'll see each other again. Yeah, just you wait, I'll become real strong the next time you see me. Before he left, Naruto gave Inari a head rub. I have the ideal name for this bridge when we finish it, you know. The Great Shu Bridge. For the first time in a long time, Tazuna was able to smile. Another villager said, Yeah, I like that name. Before long, the entire town had accepted the name. Kumo Gates 5 days later. As he made his way to the rakeage office, Darui remarked, Okay, you guys have a week break, so enjoy it. Wait Darui. Sensei, I need to see the rakeage. Why Naruto? Darui had a bad feeling about this. Trust me, I have something he'll want to see. Fortunately, he was free when Naruto and Darui arrived at the rakeage office. There was a knock on the rakeage's door. Enter. The rakeage's face lit up when Naruto and Darui walked into the room. So I take it you're here to report on your mission. Hi. Darui started to recount the mission's events. I see, then you were dismissed. Darui bowed, and Naruto followed suit, but a scroll was then produced. Naruto bit his thumb to release some blood as he placed it over the scroll, saying, "Hey, Gigi, get ready." The Raikage wanted to know what Naruto had brought. The Raikage nearly suffered a heart attack from the shock of seeing the two void genomes when Naruto unrolled the scroll and inserted a small amount of chakra into it. "Mabui, cancel all my meetings and bring me Haruka Oma." Haruka arrived a few minutes later. She greeted her son and gave him a firm embrace, but she questioned whether he had done anything wrong. Haruka's shocked expression was evident when she said, "No Ka-san, look what I found on our mission." "Where did you find these, Naruto?" "I searched for any information about our target, Gatu, during our mission. In one of the crates, I discovered a list of recent shipments, one of which was from a business called GHQ. Naruto, for this I'm giving you your A-rank mission payment along with an S-rank payment as your reward for bring these." "Really, Yada?" Haruka wanted the Raikage to avoid testing on random people, so she said, "Raikage Sama, you must know that not just anyone can wield the void genome. I know, and the fact that Naruto didn't die when he first received the power was utter luck. So what do you want to be done with these for now?" Haruka and Naruto merely bowed as the left said, "Put them away until we can find people who can wield the void genome." Hokage's office 2 weeks later. After waiting for the bridge to be completed in the Land of Waves, Team 7 turned to Konoha. "Sensei, Team 7 now here to report on a C-rank mission turned A. Speak. As we reached the Land of Waves we were attacked by Zabuza Momochi. After I was captured a group of Kumo Nin saved us." "Kumo Nin?" "Hi, just one of their genin was able to defeat Zabuza." "A genin did that?" "Hi, he had an unusual Kekkei Genkai where he could pull out a person's heart in the form of a weapon." "The impossible. I thought so too, but I saw it firsthand. If Kumo has that kind of power, then this is really unsettling. You are fired, Kakashi." As he opened the room, Kakashi merely bowed. 5 months following the Waves events. The Raikage believed that Naruto and the other members of Team 4 were prepared for the impending Chunin exams. "Darui, give these sheets to you, team. But the Chunin exams are in Konoha this year. I'm certain that I wouldn't be shocked if Naruto declined this. However, I would like to know if he is willing to take the tests." "I understand, Raikage Sama." Several hours later, while Team 4 was practicing their jutsu, Inori was trying to improve her fighting technique and gain more control over her crystals. Ace was working on a new Doton jutsu but was having very little luck, and Naruto was doing 4 things at once. Making 200 clones, 50 working on perfecting the lighting armor, 75 working on recreating the Yondaime Rasengan, which was rumored to have been created after witnessing a Biji form a tailed beast bomb. He asked Karabi if he could observe him while he made the jutsu, 25 working on the Fudan he was attempting to perform, another 25 working on the Black Lightning jutsu that Darui had begun training him in after he got the tattoo, and the final 25 working on a method to create the same genjutsu that he hid his identity without using a paper tag, but this was the slowest progress of all his training. Naruto got a little headache from all the information that Naruto the clones had gathered. "Oh man, I'm beat." Ace slapped Naruto on the head and said, "Naruto, I told you not to do too many clones at once." "Ow, my head was already hurting." "Good, maybe it'll teach you not to make so many clones." When Darui arrived on the field, he was pleased to see that they were not slacking off and were actually taking their training seriously. "I glad to see you all working so hard." You could tell Naruto enjoyed going on missions when he asked, "Darui Sensei, are we going on another mission?" "No, unfortunately, but I've got good news. The Raikage wants to send us to the Chunin exams." "But we've only been a team for 6 months. A team that has done 3 A-rank mission, 8 B-rank and 12 C-rank missions. You guys are easily the best genin team Kumo has ever had." He is correct. Where is it this year that we ought to go? Naruto became receptive to the concept. "They are to be held in Konoha this year," Darui said, inhaling deeply. Aiza's smile quickly turned to a frown as Inori hugged her blonde teammate, and a tick mark appeared on her head. Ace disliked it when Inori showed affection to Naruto in that way. Darui didn't want to force the blonde into doing something he didn't want to do, so he said, "Naruto, I'll be fine with whatever your choice is. You can always wait another 6 months." "I'll go." The other people said, "Huh. I'll go," I said. "It's time I proved my abilities to that village." Naruto the Raikage will be pleased to hear this. Hey, are there any other teams attending? The only other team to fill the Kumo criteria to enter the Chunin exam is Team 5. Oh good, I was hope Samui's team was going so I can kick their ass Datbeo. Darui gave them each a sheet of paper and said, then the three of you please fill out this form. Going back to that hellhole didn't seem to bother Naruto in the least. A few days later, Office of the Hokage. The Chunin exams are about to begin, as you are aware. I want to know if any of your teams are prepared for this kind of test. Minato was observing his Junin as they gathered in the room at the moment. All of the other Junin gasped in surprise when Kakashi said, I would like to nominate Team 7. One of the other Junin remarked, but they have only been a team for 6 months. Minato observed Yui returning home exhausted, so this must be the reason. Yes, but after what happened in the Land of Waves have been giving them very strict training. Kurenai and Asuma both said, well then I nominate my team as well, at the same moment. Yosh, my team's youthful flames are now bright enough for this test. Everyone collapsed as guys started performing push-ups. Ground 7 for training. Training the 3 Genins had not been easy, and Kakashi realized that he would need to train them even more to compete after spotting that one Genin in the Land of Waves. Yo! Sakura's Banshee scream was one of the things that would never change despite his training. You're late. Sorry I got lost on the road of life. Yui said, just tell us the news so we can continue our training. Kakashi smiled slightly. They each received a sheet of paper from Kakashi, who said, I've chosen to enter you guys into the Chunin exams. Kakashi vanished into the wind after saying, the test is in 2 days, go to the Academy Room 301 with that sheet filled out. Beyond Konoha, now that Team 4 of Kumo could see the gates of Konoha, Naruto began to recall. Darui placed a hand on the boy's shoulder, and Inori took his hand. Ace did the same with his other hand. You were never a failure, Naruto. Darui was the first to say, Naruto, we believe in you. Ace smiled and said, come on, you're going to show them what the lost, aren't you? Inori smiled at the boy and said, Naruto, I will always be on your side and no one else's. Thank you. I'm doing well now. I see, well then let go. The gate guards noticed the group and instructed them to stop after Naruto put on a ring that equipped the genjutsu, saying, state your name and business. My name Darui and my team is here for the Chunin exams. Very well, sign this sheet then you can go. Naruto and his group find it much easier to get through the gates than they initially anticipated. Streets in Konoha in search of food, Team 7 ventured out into Konoha's streets. The voice of a small child said, hey, let me go. You bumped into me, kid. Someone has to teach you a lesson. It was a female voice saying, Kankuro, stop it, you're making a scene. Another young child said, come on, it was an accident. This time, the voice sounded like that of a young girl saying, let him go, you big bully. When Team 7 noticed that a teenager dressed like a cat was holding a small child, they hurried to the scene. Sasuke quickly grabbed a rock, but before he could throw it, another teenager wearing a Kumo headband quickly grabbed Kankuro's hand and forced him to release it. The new voice said, you know it's not nice to pick on little kids like that. Hey, let me go, you bastard. What with his guy's grip, he's gonna break my wrist. Tamari found what she saw appealing. This kid kinda cute. A red-haired boy with the kanji for love on his head suddenly appeared and said, you on the branch, come out, it isn't nice to hide. Sasuke was wondering what exactly made this guy so good, and he said, what the hell, I didn't even sense him. Gaara said in a very icy tone, Kankuro, stop it. You're a disgrace to our village. But Gaara's words, shut it before I kill you, startled everyone. Kankuro started to nurse his wrist as Naruto said, would you please let go of my teammate? Gaara asked, you, what's your name? Which caused Uchiha to snicker, assuming he was the one being asked. Sasuke Uchi. Not you, the one with the brown hair. Shu Oma. Shu Oma, it'll be a pleasure to crush someone that even mother fears. This shocked Yui and Suna Genin. A mother, that's a weird relationship for a Jinchuriki. Tamari was now perspiring and said, he knows about Gaara. Crap, the plan might fail if he reports Gaara. Kankuro was aware that Gaara was a key component of their strategy and that the invasion would be considerably more difficult if he were removed from the test. In order to challenge him and satisfy his mother's hunger, Gaara at last found someone. Oma-san, you just make me even more excited to have your blood. Yui finally found someone who understood what it was like to hold a tailed beast, but he was very different from her. This guy is just like me. You tell me your name. Now, Naruto asked the redhead the same question in return. Subaku no Gaara. It'll be fun to fight you in the Chunin exams. Mother will have your blood. Gaara was beginning to lose control, but Naruto quickly left after his two siblings managed to get him back to normal. When Team 7 saw Shu again, they were a little taken aback because they knew that he and his team were here to participate in the impending exams. It appears that the competition has become much more difficult. The Suna Genin also left. After a few days, Shu, come on, we'll be late if we don't leave now. I apologize, Ace. Come on, let go. The three of them left their hotel room and began walking to the academy, with Naruto leading the way because he knew Konoha like the back of his hand. They soon reached the academy's second floor, where they noticed a sizable crowd of people passing in front of a door marked 301. Aiza's mouth was touched by Naruto, who said, "Wait, we're only on the..." This is to weed out the weak, you see. They should not even attempt to take this exam if they are unable to recognize that this is a simple genjutsu, Naruto whispered to his brown-haired teammate, who merely nodded and began to move. Naruto wanted to slap the idiot who had just made this test much more difficult when he heard the words, "Hey, release this genjutsu now." His reaction time is incredible, was Naruto's comment when he saw a boy with the largest eyebrow he had ever seen halt two attacks. A fresh voice said, "Lee, I thought I told you not to show off." "Sorry Neji, I couldn't help myself." Hyuga, those can be troublesome. Naruto began to make his way to the actual testing room after deciding he didn't want to stay. Team 4 heard the sound of a battle as they were moving, and Naruto became interested in what was happening. He arrived just in time to witness the final Uchiha being bandaged, but a large turtle stopped the Green Genin, and then an older version of the Green Genin appeared. Guy. Sensei. Lee. A sunset appeared, and the two green nin seemed to be on a cliff as they embraced, but what happened next would haunt Naruto for the rest of his life. What the devil? I am unable to break this genjutsu. Despite Naruto's best efforts, he was unable to overcome the sunset no jutsu. When Naruto, Ace, and Inori entered the test room, they were struck by a weak blast of killing intent. Naruto decided it was time to show them what a real killing intent felt like, and after 3 minutes or so, he recovered from the unsettling scene that will never be discussed again. You could tell by the smell that many of the genin were gasping for air after Naruto unleashed a massive killing intent. Some were unable to handle it and passed out, others actually puked, and one poor bastard even pooped his pants. A very familiar person kicked Naruto in the back of the head because he was getting a little ahead of himself and needed someone to correct him. You idiot. Aokarui, the hell was that for? Oh, don't tell me you don't know why I did that. I mean, look at them, they're scared shitless. They deserve Ida OWOWOWOW. You're going to break my arm. At the moment, Naruto was restrained by an armbar. Ayame was addressing the light-skinned blonde and the dark-skinned boy with white hair, saying, "Oh so Samui, Omoi, it's good to see you two again." "It's cool to see you again. Hi Samui, how are you and your group doing?" "Well, Karui is a little hot-headed and Omoi overthinks things a lot. She should really calm down. How is your luck with Na, then?" With haste, Ace placed her hand over Samui's mouth and said, "Shush. Don't call him that, please." "I apologize for forgetting, but is Shu doing well?" Aya's face changed to a color that would even rival Hinata's at the moment, and she simply nodded in agreement, able to approach Naruto a little more closely than Inori does. Ace would have responded, "I see that, cool, don't worry, I'm rooting for you." However, Naruto, who had finally been released from Karui's arm bar, appeared behind her and said, "Ace, you okay? Your face is red." Still feeling ashamed, Ace simply struck the blonde steward in the head, knocking him unconscious. 2 minutes later, Naruto awoke once more to the sound of a boisterous crowd. He was about to address them, but someone spoke before him. A voice asked, "Would you guys keep it down?" which caught Naruto and the genin's attention. Sasuke snarled, "Who the heck are you?" Naruto was annoyed by the white Haired boy's innocent smile as he explained, "Why I'm Kabuto Yakushi, a leaf genin like you." Naruto didn't like something about this guy. Kiba yelled, "Why the hell do we listen to you?" Kabuto said, "Shame, and here I thought I could give you information about the other contestants." Soon after, the majority of the rookies wanted to check the accuracy of this information. "Well, I have these cards here that had information on the competition." The rookies huddled together, looking interestedly at the cards. "Kabuto, I don't know what you're seeing, but these cards are blank," inquired Ino. Kabuto explained, "That's because you have to put some chakra in it." The card then began to glow. "Now just tell me name and I'll show you what I know." It took Kabuto a few seconds to recognize the words, but Sasuke said, "Gaara no Suna, Lee of Konoha, and Shu Oma of Kumo," right away. "All right, Rock Lee is up first. Tenten and Neji Hyuga are his teammates. He has completed 20D rank and 12C rank missions, and he is a year older than you. It seems that Guy, his sensei, is incapable of using either ninjutsu or genjutsu. Gaara no Suna comes next. On his team, I don't have much. 12D rank missions, 8C rank missions, and 1B rank mission have been completed by him. However, the most startling aspect is, let's all get closer now. This guy completed all of the missions without receiving any scratches," Kabuto cried out. What? However, that isn't feasible. How is he able to do that?" Ino said. "I'm not sure. Though his genjutsu and taijutsu skills are unknown, it states that his ninjutsu is above average. In any case, he poses a threat." The others wanted to know why Sasuke was so concerned about this guy, so he began to listen intently. "Okay, on to Shu Oma. I don't have much on him either, but he is a recent graduate only 6 months ago." When Naruto heard that a genin had completed a 3A rank mission, everyone was shocked. As for his missions, he's done no D rank missions, 12C rank, 8B rank, and WO 3A rank. Only a handful of people know about the mission in the Land of Bears a few weeks back. The Konoha 9 turned to the brown-haired boy, but he was currently attempting to avoid an embarrassed ace. "Are you familiar with the Kekkei Genkei?" Sasuke was curious as to what the power he saw on the bridge was. Sasuke was a little let down to learn that there was virtually nothing that would give him the advantage, none that I know of. When the smoke cleared, they noticed a man wearing a bandana and roughly 18 other people. "The examiner for the first section of the Chunin exams is me, Morino Ibiki. This section of the test will be written. There are only going to be 10 questions. After an hour for you to finish the test, I will ask the 10th and last question. You will receive 1 point for each question you answer correctly, but 2 points will be taken away if you are found to be cheating. You and your team are done if you are caught cheating 5 times. When you receive your seat number, you begin." Instructors soon began assigning numbers. Naruto and his teammates went to their seats after saying, "Number 21, ah, there it is." The test wasn't too difficult. Naruto had started writing the answers, and while Inori and Ace had no trouble answering the questions, their other Kumo friends weren't so fortunate and struggled greatly with them. Ibiki said, "Number 20, 13, and 8, you're done." 3 genin then left the room, and this continued for the next hour. Many teams were eliminated in the 45 minutes, and Ibiki felt that enough time had passed. At this point, you have the option to either answer the last question or not. There is a catch. If you fail this question, you will never be able to take the Chunin exams again. This made many people consider skipping it. If you skip it, you can go home and try again the following year. What? However, a lot more people have taken this test than that, Kiba snarled. Ibiki asked the last question after many of the group considered leaving, and some did. Those were the years before. You are just unfortunate to have me as an instructor. Almost everyone let out a loud cry of, "EH!" when Ibiki said, "To all remaining teams, congratulations, you've passed the first part of the Chunin exams." Naruto was actually startled, but this moment was brief because a woman burst through the glass. "Hey guys, I'm the hot Anko Mitarashi, and I'll be teaching the second section of the Chunin exams. Come with me." After leading our group into a vast forest, Anko started talking, which caused everyone to stop talking. "All right, this area is known as the Forest of Death or Training Ground 44. Gathering these 2 scrollsa, the Earth and Heaven scrollsa, is your test. To get past the first one, you will need to track down other teams. The rules are as follows. A Rule 1. There are no rules, just try not to die. Anko began handing the genin sheets of paper. What is this? Said a random genin. Anko smiled and said, oh, this is in case you die we can't be held responsible. The snake mistress of Konoha threw a kunai at Naruto, who easily blocked it before moving to block another attack. So just spending a few days in the forest hunting down other genin sound easy enough. Anko began to consider all the things she would do to him, thinking, wow, Gaki, you're actually kind of good. Anko had truly found someone she would love to tease. As she began to do so, Naruto said, apologies, miss. Shouldn't you distribute the scrolls? Naruto had brought Anko back to Earth. After putting a blood seal on the heaven scroll that his team had obtained, the genin entered the forest, and Naruto and his team quickly located a group of Kiri genin who were laying traps. They didn't attack right away because they wanted to see which scroll these guys had, but soon they had all the traps set and the Kiri genin had regrouped. Man, are you sure we shouldn't just go out and hunt other team? No, everyone else will be doing that, so if we wait we'll be fine. Ace, Naruto, and Inori sensed 3 new acquaintances close by. Yeah, but what are the chances of us finding a group with an Earth scroll? Getting attention, a new voice said, that's all the information we need. The Kiri genin was confronted by an Iwa genin team. Naruto believed it was time to intervene when another Iwa genin said, sorry guys, we'll be taking that scroll of yours. Naruto told his 2 teammates, here you 2 stay here, I'll make this quick. He then leapt to the ground. As he now produced a kunai, one of the Kiri genin said, oh great, more enemies. The others started giggling. This is your only warning, give me the scroll, and I won't get hurt. The Iwa genin charged at him, asking, what can one genin do against us? Idiot. The Kiri and Iwa attacked Naruto, who merely drew a kunai and deflected their blows before going on the attack, grabbing one of the Iwa genin and giving him a blow to the neck that knocked him unconscious. The 2 Iwa genin teammates then started to perform a series of hand signals, but Naruto stepped up and struck them in the back of the neck, knocking them out. Knowing they were no match, the Kiri genin started to flee, but Inori and Ace caught them. Ace swiftly grabbed her prey and kicked him in the stomach, sending him crashing into a tree and shattering some of the bark. Inori made her crystal blades, which she slammed into the stomachs of the other 2 Kiri genin, causing them to faint. Well, that was simple. At this point, Naruto searched the genin for a scroll and discovered what he was looking for. The heaven scroll and another earth scroll from the Kiri genuine. An hour or so later. Wait, Shu. What is it, Inori? Toilet. Naruto's face instantly flushed. Ace would have to teach Inori some manners. Inori, can't you be a little bit more subtle? Before the 2 left, Naruto managed to say, Ace, go with Inori. I'll cover you guys from here. This chakra. Naruto started to sense something, it's so evil. Shu. Naruto regrouped with Inori and Ace. You 2 also experienced that? Both girls gave a nod of agreement. Come, let's go. Naruto began to move through the forest, and they arrived just in time to witness a pale skinned man attack a Konoha team. When the group noticed that Sasuke was unconscious and Yui's eyes were turning red instead of blue, she attacked Orochimaru, her speed and physical strength greatly increasing. So this is the power of the Kyuubi. Naruto noted that although Yui's strength boost from the Kyuubi was impressive, it was insufficient to defeat Orochimaru. Why am I getting mad? Naruto thought as Yui was losing her fight, but Orochimaru grabbed her and held her close. When Orochimaru pulled up Yui's shirt, Naruto could no longer stand it. As Orochimaru prepared to use a sealing jutsu on Yui, he exclaimed, what the? Orochimaru narrowly avoids a metallic strip that nearly strikes him, cutting multiple trees in the process. Are you okay? Naruto extended his hand to assist the Kunoichi in standing up, but she declined. Why would you help a Konoha genin? You have no reason to do so. That's a nice way of saying, thank why. Naruto swiftly picked up Yui, in the same manner that Shu holds Inori while holding the singer sword, and stepped aside from a large snake, as the 2 of them stood on a disc that the sword had created. Hey, put me down. Yui was flushed profusely. My dear, what power do you possess, boy? Orochimaru turned his attention to Naruto. Inori, Ace, you 2 check on her teammates. Naruto threw Yui to his 2 teammates, who only nodded and departed, as Inori and Ace appeared close to him. Naruto was now confronted by Orochimaru, who said, you intend to sacrifice yourself." Naruto's arm turned to crystal as he said, "Sorry, but the only one who's going to die will be you." "Shit, I'll have to go all out." Naruto knew he was facing a Sannin who could easily compete with a Kage. Orochimaru began to smirk as Naruto made sure no one was around before removing the genjutsu. "So the lost child of the Yondaime is alive. I am not that bastard's child. Oh, a family feud." Orochimaru started to laugh. As interesting it would be to see the Minato's reaction to "You boy, I'm afraid it's time to die." As Orochimaru started talking, sparks of lightning started to erupt from Naruto. Naruto's legs now equipped Ayaza's void. Orochimaru was very interested in this power. Orochimaru didn't expect Naruto's speed to rival the Raikage's. Orochimaru shed his old body to heal the wounds he had just received, saying, "Damn it, this child is good." Naruto appeared beside the snake Sannin, and Orochimaru knew this child posed a threat, so he launched his attack. In a battle of blades, Orochimaru summoned a large snake and ordered it to attack Naruto, but Naruto used Inori's void to unleash a metallic strip that cut the snake in half. Orochimaru thought, "Again with that sword." He then pulled out the sword of Kusanagi. Orochimaru and Naruto were in a difficult situation, and Naruto took advantage of the situation by staring the snake bastard in the eyes. When Naruto was about to insert his hand, Orochimaru noticed a glowing spot on his chest and was startled. He quickly stepped away from Naruto and exclaimed, "What the hell kind of jutsu was that?" Orochimaru was determined to capture Naruto because he was beginning to enjoy all the surprises Naruto was giving him. Orochimaru wanted to see what this new tool could do, so Naruto summoned Haruka's void and returned Inori's. Naruto launched the gauntlet's hand part, which Orochimaru easily avoided. "Come on child, surly UCA." Haruka's void turned around and grabbed hold of Orochimaru's arm. Orochimaru cut off his own arm, which exploded into red dust a second later. He decided to cut his losses because he knew he could regenerate his lost arm later. Pulse blast. Orochimaru felt the sudden surge in power as the red waves of energy entered his body, and he knew this would kill him unless he did something. Naruto now assumed his genjutsu appearance. He escaped. Naruto began to reassemble with Ace and Inori. "How is he doing?" Naruto gestured to Sasuke, who was panting heavily. "Shoo, I've never seen a mark like this. I can't tell what the affect to his body is. Can you explain to us what happened to him prior to receiving that mark?" Naruto pointed to a scared Sakura. "That snake guy bit him on the neck." The Konoha Kunoichi were impressed by the boy's proficiency with Fuinjutsu, so Naruto took out a scroll and started writing on it. After adding some of his blood to the completed seal, Naruto slammed the scroll onto Sasuke's body, leaving the scroll behind and forming a triangle around the cursed mark. "Here, this should hold for about 4.5 days. It's the best I can do for now. Also take these." Naruto handed Yui 3 pieces of paper with the kanji for suppress on it, saying, "These should stop him if that mark does something funny to him." Naruto also gave Yui an earth scroll, saying, "Oh, I see that you lost your scroll, so here, we don't need this." Yui demanded an explanation, asking, "Why? What do you gain from helping us?" "You know I don't know why." She blushed when Naruto gave her a stupid smile. Ace didn't like Yui's gaze on Naruto, so she said, "Anyway, we should get going. According to the 3 Kumo Nin, we should well then see ya." Yui smiled as she thought, "Shu Oma, you're strange. Tower of Death Forest." Naruto and his group were standing in front of a sign, unsure of what to do. "Okay, any ideas on what the hell do we do here?" they asked. Inori said, "Shu, open the scrolls." This caused both of her teammates to raise an eyebrow. When Naruto and Ace opened the 2 scrolls, a Konoha nin emerged and said, we got nothing else to do. You guys are the first ones here, so congratulations." The 4 went into the tower to unwind for a while. "Now follow me, and I'll show you the way inside." A team from Suna appeared in the tower a day later, followed by the Samui team the next day, and a new team from Konoha the 3rd day. One of the members of this team had very pale skin, and Naruto didn't trust him because he seemed too suspicious, and he didn't like the smile he would give them. When a new Konoha team showed up on the 3rd day, it was the one with the green genin and the Hyuga, who would always give Naruto's and Samui's teams a hateful glare. What's his deal? Samui told her old friend, I believe it has to do with that incident involving the Sandame rakeage. Oh, I remember that now. A team from Otto also arrived on this day, and one of them appeared to have had an arm torn off. On the fourth and last day, 4 Konoha teams arrived, and Naruto was able to control his rage toward them. Among them were a number of Junin, including Kurabi and Darui, as well as a man who had bandages on his right side of his body, which made Naruto uneasy. After clearing his throat, the Hokage said, I want to thank everyone for coming, but we will be holding preliminary rounds because too many of you passed the second part of the Chunin exams. Does anyone want to leave before we start? Nobody spoke. A man with a bandana coughed and said, Hokage. Sama, I can take it from here. The Minato nodded, and the man resumed his conversation. This cough portion of the Chunin exams will be supervised by me, Hayate Gecko. Cough. Some. Cough. Ground rules apply. You fight until one of you is unable to continue until you both cough. If your opponent surrenders, you are not allowed to kill them. Cough. If we tell you to stop, you will. Any weapons or jutsu. Cough. Are permitted. A screen behind Hayate activated, displaying the names of every genin and ceasing to display the first battle. The 2 competitors were called down by Hayate, who said, Sasuke Uchiha and Akado Yoroi come down here. Kakashi whispered something into the Uchiha's ear before Sasuke started to walk away. Down below, Sasuke moved to meet his opponent. Start. After Hayate stepped aside, the 2 clashed, and Sasuke felt his strength wane as Akado grabbed him. What the hell kind of jutsu is he using? He asked. Sasuke breaks free from Akado's hold and takes a step back. What's the matter, Shiken? Akado pinned Sasuke to the ground while holding him by the head as his chakra rapidly depleted. Sasuke's blood was starting to boil and the curse mark was about to expand, but Naruto's counter seal suppressed it. Damn it, I need to do something. Sasuke was aware that a shinobi could still use taijutsu even if ninjutsu and genjutsu were unavailable. After escaping from Akado's hold once more, Sasuke did something that startled a certain pair of green shinobi. Lee yelled, "That's my move." Sasuke added his own moves to the move he had seen Lee perform a few days earlier. Sasuke knocks Akado unconscious with a power taijutsu combo known as Lion's Barrage. Medical Nin went to pick up Akado, and as Sasuke was leaving the area, Hayate declared, "The winner of the match is Sasuke Uchiha." Some of his fangirls asked questions after Sasuke and Kakashi left the room. At 2 new names, the screen stopped flashing through the names once more. Hayate summoned the next 2 contestants, saying, "Shu Oma and Asimu, come down here." Asimu was a member of Sai's team. He was a boy with brown and green eyes, dressed similarly to Sai, but in navy blue, with a shirt that covered his entire upper body and a tanto like Sai. Darui put his hand on Naruto's shoulder just as he was ready to enter the arena. "What? Is something amiss, Sensei?" "Shu, don't use that." Darui wanted to keep things that way, even though they were aware that information about the void genome had been leaked. Shu leapt down that section and Asimu followed suit, saying, "I understand, Sensei." When the 2 were facing one another, start. After Hayate leapt back, Asum produced his tanto, and Naruto produced a kunai. No one watched this match as intently as Minato and Danzo, but everyone did. A CQC battle broke out between Naruto and Asimu. Asimu was displaying far more skill than one would expect from a typical genin. Even though their speeds were equal, Naruto started to enhance his reaction time by adding Raiden chakra to his head, which increased the synapses between his brain cells. Asimu realized he couldn't win in close quarters, so he backed away from Naruto and started making a series of hand signals. Naruto's reaction time now outpaced Asimu's, and he started cutting him. The cuts weren't deep, but they hurt. Kaden. Ga Kakia, no jutsu. Naruto was attacked by a massive fire jutsu, and he hurried at Asimu while dodging the jutsu. Asimu flew across the arena and struck the wall, creating a decent crater. Naruto said, "You're too slow." He turned his arm into crystal and delivered a bone crushing punch, leaving everyone who didn't know him speechless. Damn it, I should have held back more. He's refusing. They were now aware that they should avoid him. Naruto didn't want to permanently harm Asimu, so he got up and said, "Give up, there's no way you can win." Asimu started making a number of hand signals without even appearing to notice Naruto's warning. Kaiten. Goryuka no Jutsu. An even more powerful fire jutsu attack was launched at Naruto, who merely muttered, "Idiot," as he initiated a series of hand signals. Darui grinned upon witnessing his student's hand signs. Raiden. Kurapansa. Naruto's hand launched a black lightning panther, which charged at the fire jutsu and defeated it in a power battle. The jutsu then struck Asimu, burning most of his body. The only people in the room who knew about the black lightning jutsu were the Sandaime Raikage and one of his students, but that was the extent of his network's knowledge. Danzo now wanted to capture this boy at all costs, and Orochimaru, who was disguised as a sound Junin, was about to start drooling because he knew that he must have this boy and that he not only possesses an unusual Kekkei Genkai but also the black lightning techniques that he himself had been attempting to acquire for years. When the screen finally selected a name, Hayate waited for it to say, "The winner of the match is Shu Oma. Zaku Ibumi and Shino Aburame come down here." Arriving at the center with only one arm, Zaku followed Shino's lead. Start. Hayate stepped aside to allow the two to battle, with Shino dodging every last one of Zaku's blows as he attacked. "Stop moving so I can strike you." As Zaku grew weary of the game, he raised his good arm and pointed it at Shino. Shino grabbed everyone's attention when he said, "I wouldn't do that if I was you." Zaku ignored Shino and attempted to strike with his hand, but nothing came out. What the devil? After examining his arm closely, Zaku noticed that something was obstructing it. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that insects had infiltrated the opening. Zaku attempted to force the attack from his arm, but nothing came out. Everyone watched in horror as the pressure became too great and his arm was torn from his body. "If you think this is going to stop me, you got another thing coming." The names flashed on the screen once more as Shino walked back up to his team and Zaku was taken by Medical Nin. Zaku is unable to continue. The winner of the match is Shino Aburame. Hayate called the next match competitors down, and they met in the middle of the arena. Kankuro and Masumi Tsurugi get down here. Start. Hayate moved aside once more to give the two space to fight. Stretching his arms, Masumi charged at full speed towards Kankuro. His arms lurched forward, tightening around his body like a snake around its prey. "You should have given up already," Masumi said as his grip tightened once more. Masumi grinned and said, "Don't underestimate me." Kankuro fought against his arms. "Then you will die." His tense body went slack after he broke Kankuro's neck. Masumi laughed and said, "You should have given up when you had the chance." "Idiot," was Naruto's statement, which made people wonder. Samui, who was somewhat taken aback by her friend's remark, said, "Naruto, you should respect the dead." Naruto's tone was sarcastic as he said, "Oh, don't worry, I respect the dead." Hayate was about to announce the match's winner when Kankuro turned around, startling everyone except Naruto, Inori, and Kankuro's two siblings. "Guess again." What? It struck him hard, and he fought his way out of Kankuro's grasp, but it was too late. Kankuro's arms grew longer and encircled Masumi's body. "I told you, don't underestimate me." The cocoon. Encased strings were unrolled, revealing the real Kankuro in control of the puppet. Masumi gasped out of breath and said, "So, you were controlling the puppet inside the cocoon, and so you're a puppeteer." Kankuro laughed again and broke his bones, causing a gasp of pain to reverberate throughout the arena before Masumi's body collapsed to the ground. With a smug grin on his face, Kankuro leapt back to his team and said, "That was simple." Hayate coughed and declared, "Kankuro is the winner of the match." The names flashed on the screen once more, and Naruto's expression revealed a slight surprise when the two names showed up. Yui Namikaze and Ace Shinomiya come down here. Yui was already standing in the middle of the arena when Ace leapt down to meet her. Start. The two started trading right away after making some hand signals. Doden. Doryuso. Spikes emerged from the ground, and although Yui was able to quickly dodge them, they continued to appear behind her. She pulled out a few shuriken and threw them at Ace, forcing her to stop her jutsu and create a new one. She made some hand signals, and a wall of stone rose up from the ground to protect her. Minato was happy to see that Yui was actually up against someone who could challenge her, saying, Oh, this girl is good at using her element. Then, with a Rasengan in hand, Yui charged at Ace, surprising many Konoha genin by mastering a technique that took the Yondaime 3 years to create. Ace was aware of the power of that jutsu from Naruto's attempt to recreate it, so she moved away from Yui to avoid the attack, but when Ace hit Yui well, she vanished into smoke. A duplicate. Ace attempted to turn around, but Yui gave her a chin uppercut as she did so. Hi, Ace. Naruto made an unsuccessful attempt to get a response from Ace. Hayate announced, Yui Namikaze is the winner. A medical nin then showed up. Naruto and Inori departed along with the medical nin. 5th medical room. Ace regained consciousness after about 50 minutes, and when she opened her eyes, Naruto and Inori were standing next to her. Damn it. Her teammates merely nodded, I lost, didn't I? They saw that Ace wanted to go on to the next exam stage with them, so Naruto and Inori left after thinking that she needed a moment to calm down. Look, you did your best. Naruto tried to reassure her, but she didn't even seem to hear him. Arena. Just to watch Samui defeat Kiba, Naruto and Inori went back to the arena. Sushin. Tepudama. Samui's mouth spit out a huge ball of water, knocking Kiba unconscious. Samui is the match's winner. We're going to take a little break now. Samui headed back up to her teammates, and Naruto approached her. As they approached, they could see that Samui was furious. Shu, you're lucky they didn't call Inori up. Sorry, so Samui, what we miss? You didn't miss much after you left. They called these two Konoha Kunoichi, and that match wasn't nothing too flash except it ended in a draw. Really? That's unusual, then. Yes, but Omoi's turn came next. That individual with the extremely pale skin was opposed by him. Unfortunately, Omoi lost because he became agitated. Omoi became agitated? Why did it happen? Naruto was aware that Omoi was a thoughtful person who did not allow his feelings to control him. Samui approached Naruto and whispered something in his ear, causing his face to flush. Really? That is incorrect. What happened, Shu? Inori wanted to know what could cause Naruto to blush. Inori, nothing. What follows then? Then came the Suna girl, whose name I believe was Tamari, who was up against some Kunoichi from Konoha, whose name was Tenten. Although Tenten was skilled with weapons, the Tamari was employing a fan that deflected any weapon Tenten threw. She fought the worst opponent she could possibly get. Yeah, then it was this kid from the Nara clan named Shikamaru against the one Kunoichi from Oto. Shadows are used as weapons by the Nara clan, aren't they? It is Shu. This kid at first seemed like he was lazy beyond belief. Well, the Nara clan is notorious for being lazy. The match seemed like it was all over, but the Nara actually came up with a pretty cool plan that turned the match around. Looks like that guy is more than he lets on. In any case, Karui faced a teammate of the pale skinned guy in the following match. In fact, I believe he was nameless. That's odd. Yes, it was. Karui quickly defeated him. My match, which you just saw, came next. Yeah, nice win by the way. With a smile, Samui said, thank you, Shu. When Hayate returned to the arena, the words, "We are about to resume the exam," flashed on the screen once more, shocking everyone with the sight of the two names. Hayate called the two Hyugas down and said, Hinata Hyuga and Neji Hyuga, come down here. Neji wasted no time in making his way to the middle of the arena, where he began to criticize Hinata for her shortcomings, calling her a disgrace to the Hyuga name and claiming that he was selected by fate to win this match. Naruto was becoming irritated with all of this talk about destiny. Hinata, you can do it, Yui said, dispelling Hinata's fears that all of her hard work would now be in vain. This gave the young Hyuga heiress the motivation to battle her cousin. Come on, go kick his ass, Dabbeo. Hayate noticed the fire in Hinata's eyes as she turned her Hyuga gaze to Neji and said, start. Byakugan. Neji became enraged as Hinata blocked all of his attacks, and the two veins surrounding his eyes emerged. How can this failure keep up with me? Neji said as the two started dancing with the gentle fist. Hinata attempted to keep up with Neji's increasing speed between jabs, but she was unable to do so as Neji delivered several blows that blocked Hinata's chakra network. Stop. I've been selected by destiny to win. Hinata simply gave him a blank stare as she stood up and assumed her fighting stance once more. I can't quit just yet. What would Naruto think? Hinata recalled what Naruto had said to her when she was a child. Rewind. Hinata was examining a 5-year-old orange clad boy on the ground who had just finished training when she asked, "Nay Naruto-kun, why do you try so hard?" "It's so that people will see me for more than just being the son of the Hokage or Yui's brother. One day, I'll demonstrate my abilities to everyone. I swear to give it everything I've got." Flashback termination. Naruto's eyes widened when he realized that Hinata had recalled the words he had spoken all those years ago. "A very good friend once told me to give it my all and nothing less." Hinata was now prepared to fight again. Naruto, is it that Namikaze failure? Minato and Kushina used all their willpower to prevent them from killing the young Hyuga, and Naruto was furious because he was hoping for an opportunity to battle this destiny prick. That boy was a failure and will be nothing else except and is his fate. Hinata was furious, and Yui was too. Remove that. Oh, did I offend someone? Neji and Hinata now engaged in combat once more. Without her chakra network, the battle was short-lived. Hinata was able to cut off chakra points, but Neji was able to do more, beginning to cut off vital points. Neji was aiming for the last blow, and Hinata was barely upright. Hinata waited for the blow to come, but it never did. Naruto-kun, I'm sorry. Both Naruto and Minato used their swiftest moves to halt the attack after realizing a few seconds ago that Neji's objective was to kill Hinata. Shock could not adequately describe the expression on everyone's faces when they realized that Naruto was as fast as Minato. Minato was surprised that a genin could match his speed and said, You matched my speed." Naruto looks at Neji and says, "Damn well, there goes my trump card. What the hell is wrong with you, kid? Attempting to murder your own cousin." Neji erupted in anger, saying, "Shut up Kumo, you have no idea what this is about." Neji, you will be eliminated if you continue. Do I make myself clear? Minato's words carried a hint of murderous intent, and Neji received the message. Neji said, "Hi Hokage. Sama." Naruto was heading back to his group when Minato put a hand on his shoulder and said, "Wait, how did you match my speed?" Naruto stepped away from the Minato and remarked, "A ninja has secrets." Minato never anticipated that Shu would be taking these tests. Yui's present level of skill was insufficient to compete against Shu. This is bad, we'll have to start Yui's training. After the remaining names were displayed, the screen flashed. The winner of the match is Neji Hyuga. Hayate called the next match, saying, "Inori Yuzuriya and Kabuto Yakushi, get down here." While she was walking to the center, Naruto wished her luck. Start. Inori made a scaled-down version of her crystal blade to match Kabuto's scalpel, and Hayate jumped back, and the two engaged in combat. They were countering each other's blows and matching each other's moves. After saying, "Shouten that a rare Kekkei Genkei," Kabuto leapt to put some distance between them and then produced a few kunai with paper bombs attached. He threw them at Inori, who only made a few hand signals before a wall of crystal appeared to absorb the blow. Seeing his opportunity, Kabuto proceeded around the wall of crystal, prepared his chakra scalpel, and stabbed Inori in the side. What? Kabuto was waiting for a scream or at least a grunt of pain, but Inori didn't give one. Kabuto looked up and saw that all of Inori's body was crystal. A clone? When the clone seized Kabuto's left hand, crystals started to form on it. Kabuto was unable to remove the crystal, so he asked, "What the hell did you do to me?" "Give up." Inori approached Kabuto from behind and aimed a crystal blade at his back. There was nothing Kabuto could do, so he said, "Proctor, I surrender." Kabuto was having trouble with the cancer crystals when Inori approached him from behind and gave him a pill. The winner of the match is Inori Yuzuriya. "Huh, what's this? Take this if you wish to survive." Kabuto swallowed it without hesitation, and the crystals soon fell from his body. The crystals should disappear. Kabuto became interested in learning more about these crystals and said, "What the hell are these crystals? I don't think this is a Shouten jutsu." Darui was the first to comment, "Nice job Inori." Naruto was pleased with Inori's victory, saying, "Yeah, you kicked ass." "TT thank you Shu." Her face was slightly flushed. The two were drawn to Samui when he said, "Shu, Inori, they're calling the next match. Rock Lee and Gara no Sabaku, get down here." Soon after, Lee emerged in the middle of the Gaara. Start. Hayate moved aside. Lee struck first, but failed to land a blow. Lee's movements quickly accelerated, impressing those who could tell he wasn't using jutsu. Lee's level of taijutsu impressed Naruto, who said, "His taijutsu is amazing." However, why is he solely employing taijutsu? When Kabuto appeared beside the group, he explained, because he can only use taijutsu. What are you looking for? Naruto disliked the sensation he got whenever Kabuto was close to them. Look, consider this my way of saying thank you for saving my life. As I mentioned earlier, Rock Lee is a shinobi who is incapable of using genjutsu or ninjutsu. A ninjutsu. Incompetent shinobi. Although she could think of one shinobi in Kumo who would be that insane. Samui had never heard of anyone like this or someone who would be insane enough to be a shinobi with such a disability. As Naruto discovered someone else who was committed to disproving others, he remarked, "I'm starting to like this guy." Lee was aware that he couldn't breach Gaara's sand barrier at his current speed. Sensei. Yash Lee. Let your youthful flames burn. Guy was equally as excited as his pupil. Lee leapt on top of the statue's hands and started taking his weights off. What? When everyone saw that Lee's weights were heavy enough to dent the ground, Konkuro's jaw nearly fell to the floor. Does he think that if he removes a few pounds Gaara's armor was starting to break, and Lee launched his attack, moving far more quickly than before. As his sand started to encircle Lee and follow him, Gaara remarked, "You bore me." Gaara extended his hand and was ready to crush Lee in a sand coffin when he said, "Gate of opening open." Lee felt a surge of chakra and accelerated his pace. Kakashi was astounded that Guy would teach such a risky maneuver. "Guy, you taught Lee to open the gates." Lee was aware of the danger. "I advised him to use it sparingly." "How many gates is he able to open?" "Only 5. Lee was now launching a huge assault on Gaara. Only a green blur was visible to those whose eyes were not prepared to see a battle at such high speeds. Lee's eyes were white now, and his body was red. Lee grabbed Gaara and slammed him into the ground, saying, "Hidden Lotus." Gaara ceased to move, Lee's body stabilized, and he began to breathe heavily. As Hayate was ready to announce the match's winner, sand began to move and an unexpected voice could be heard. "Do you have anything else?" Lee was visually shocked when Gaara stood up again and appeared to be unharmed. How can he be standing? Now that Gaara was encircled, the sand advanced on Lee. One of Lee's arms and legs were wrapped in sand, and he was too far away to try to get out of the way. Sand coffin. Sand burial. Lee screamed in agony as the sand crushed his arm and leg. Lee was knocked unconscious after falling to the ground, and Gaara moved his sand to kill him, but Guy stopped the sand. He failed, so why would you save him? Guy picked up Lee and carried him to the medic bay, saying, "Because he is someone precious to me." After calling out the winner, Hayate displayed the final 2 names on the screen. The winner of the match is Gaara no Sabaku. Hayate summoned the 2 competitors and they soon found themselves in the middle of the arena. The final match will be Choji Akamichi versus Dosu Kinuda. Start. The 2 started to clash as Hayate moved away from them. Choji rolled toward Dosu and expanded his body, but Dosu only managed to dodge the attack before becoming trapped in a wall. Dosu saw his opportunity, appeared behind Choji, and put one of his hands on the round boy's body before Dosu started blasting Choji's body with sound waves. Before he was knocked unconscious, Choji screamed in agony. When Hayate noticed that the match was already over, he declared, "Dosu Kinuda is the winner. Will the remaining rivals descend here?" All of the preliminary match winners were summoned to the center by Hayate. Some of the genin were intrigued by the box that Hayate was holding. Hayate began to move down the group, and each genin grabbed a number. He said, "When I come to you, grab a number from the box." Dosu was the first to grab a number, his was 14. Next was Gaara, who took a number, his was 5. Next to select a number was Yui, who chose number 3. Next to pick up a number was Tamari, whose number was 7. The next person to select a number from the box was Neji, who selected number 2. When it was Samui's turn, she reached into the box and took out the number 4. Sai had gotten up to get a number, and his was 10. Shikamaru reached in and took a number, his was Ada, as the box appeared close by. When it was Konkuro's turn to select a number, he was given 6. When the box arrived, Shino took out a number 11A using his bugs. Now, Karui was reaching into the box and removing the number 9. Inori snatched a number out of the box, 13 to be exact. When Naruto's turn finally came, he reached in and produced the number 1. After noticing that each genin had a number, Hayate said, "All of you show me the number you have." After all of the genin responded to his request, the order of the matches was displayed on the large screen on the wall a few seconds later. Shu Oma vs Neji Hyuga will be the first round of the third section of the Chunin exam. Yui Namikaze vs Samui came next. Shikamaru Nara vs Tamari no Sabaku will be the fourth round, followed by Gara no Sabaku vs Konkuro no Sabaku. Inori Yuzuriya vs Dosu Kinuda will be the last match of the first round, followed by Sai vs Karui in the fifth round and Sasuke Uchiha vs Shino Aburame in the sixth. Neji gave Naruto a chilly glare and said, "It's time to show Kumo what happens when you mess with Hyuga." Naruto turned to face Neji, who was about to give him some common sense. Cough. Hayate dismissed the genin after saying, "You have 1 month to prepare. Cough, for the finals." Before long, everyone began to depart from the arena. Fifth medical room. Even though Ace was still depressed, she was determined to move forward with Naruto, and she was certain that Inori had also advanced to the finals. Naruto, Inori, and Darui entered the room. She put a false smile on her face and said, "Hey Inori, how it go?" "I passed." Ace was surprised when Inori approached her and gave her a hug, saying, "I see, I'm happy for you." "What? Inori?" "It's okay Ace." Ace lost control of her emotions. The girl started to cry. Naruto and Darui were pleased by Inori's actions and were about to speak when a bird appeared inside a window's edge. Naruto and Darui recognized the symbol on the bird's back as the Raikage's personal symbol. "What? A Kumo messaging bird." Naruto approached the bird and grabbed the scroll from its backpack, and to his astonishment, he extracted a scroll bearing one of his blood seals. When he used a blood seal to ensure that this message was sent to Naruto and only Naruto knew this was crucial. Naruto opened the scroll and started reading the message. "We've discovered something about the team that created the Void Genome, but I understand that you are in the middle of the Chunin exams right now, Naruto. I want you to enter the base by yourself. This is because you are the only person besides myself who knows the lightning armor jutsu, and a small group of speed. Specialized nin will be waiting for you. The other person will only slow you down." After Naruto finished reading the message, the others realized he had to depart once more. "The team will fill you on the rest, and follow my little brother, he'll take you there." "Look, it's only for a few days," Naruto said, observing the expressions on the faces of his two female teammates. "I prom. You nearly broke every bone in your body the last time." The last time Naruto went on a mission without them at the Raikage's command, it didn't work out well, Ace reminded the group. "Hey, only my right arm, both legs, and 4 ribs were involved. Sama will accompany me, and I'll be alright." Kurabi, who entered, attempted to reassure Ace that nothing would happen by saying, "Don't worry Ace. Chan, I'll cover Naruto's ass." The entire group was shocked when Inori grabbed Naruto's hands and said, "Naruto, please return in one piece." "Is she really that concerned about my safety? Inori, I swear." Naruto noticed a tiny smile on her face, and Ace also smiled. With Killer B, Naruto said, "Come we should go." The two soon left the village and started to head toward the goal. 2 days away from Konoha, somewhere. Naruto was growing increasingly irritated with the length of time the two had been walking. "Kurabi. Sama, how much longer?" he asked. The two soon entered a dilapidated looking dango shop, saying, "The meeting place be just ahead, so cool your jets." The majority of those present were dressed in robes. While waiting for the others to arrive, Naruto went to the counter and placed an order for some food. Naruto addressed the woman who was preparing something, saying, "Give me 2 orders of goma dango." My Naruto, I'm a little disappointed, I thought I raised you better." With a finger trembling wildly, Naruto asked, "KK-ka-san, what are you doing here?" Another well-known voice said, "I thought my Otuto was a gentleman, this is most disappointing." Naruto became pleased. Yugito.ne. Chan. It had been months since Naruto last saw her. Naruto became close to the Jinchuriki of the Nibi during his first few years in Kumo. The boy began to regard her as an older sister because they were so close. The Kumo cloud masks were worn by the other customers in the Dango shop. Like the Konoha, the cloud mask used animal faces, but theirs were black rather than white. The equipment that Konoha's Anbu wore was nearly the same as theirs. Here, Naruto saw some of Cloud's more well-known members. Hawk and Falcon, these two were rumored to be twins. These two had never failed a mission. Alone they were a major threat, but together their teamwork was said to rival the Gold and Silver siblings. Saru, Monkey. He is famous for his stealth, some say he's even invisible to the Byakugan. His offensive capabilities are a little under Junin, but he made up this with his superior tactical skills which can rival the Nara. Naruto made a small note to avoid her company. Tiger, she is a genjutsu expert. Some say her genjutsu can rival that of the Uchiha Sharingan. She is also the sub-commander of Kumo's T&I group. Wolf. I don't know much about him, but he's extremely deadly. I'm really glad that he's on our side. Okay. So how dangerous is this mission for Ajiji to send 2 Jinchuriki and some of Cloud's most skilled nin? With a hint of concern in her voice, Yugito stated, Naruto, this mission has been given an S ranking with the possibility of it turning into an SS mission. I thought Ajiji said I couldn't do S rank mission until I was an older? Naruto, your power is needed. We've tried to find someone else who could handle the void genome, but anyone else so far would die. You're the key to this mission's success. Naruto, we're not here because of our skills, Hawk replied. After Hawk finished his sentence, Falcon added, we are here because of our hearts. Let me guess, your voids are needed in order to complete the mission. To indicate that Naruto's guess was correct, the others nodded. Right then, we better get started. As she approached Naruto, Tiger remarked, Naruto, pull out my void first. A luminous patch quickly emerged on the tiger's chest as Naruto stretched out his right arm. Reaching out, he places his arm in her chest. As Naruto pulled her void, she moaned a little and felt a tremendous sense of warmth. It was a dagger. I see. I'm not surprised that the sub-commander void would be an interrogation tool. Because his void could support the weight of other voids, Naruto could already tell a void's strengths and weaknesses whenever he pulled one out. Then Naruto separated from the others. Saru stood up. Naruto produced a dark cloak that gave him the ability to control the form and shape of shadows as well as the ability to become invisible. Hawk and Falcon came next. A pair of cannons matched their voids. However, one was black and the other white. Wolf, the last member of Cloud, now allowed Naruto to extract his void. A spear with a lock on capability was Wolf's void. Naruto now resides in Yugito. He produced a tiny blue ball of energy with an arm cannon. Naruto was approached by Killer Bee, who instructed him to remove his void. 8 bits gathered around Naruto as he reached inside. As though awaiting an order, the pieces started to circle Naruto. After making the pieces vanish, Naruto inquired as to the mission's objective. Haruka told her son, we are to find and take any research data, then we are to destroy the base. If that's the mission, why do we need so much firepower? In an attempt to respond to the query, Tiger remarked, well, the base is huge. Oh, it can't be that big. Trust me, you'll see. Secret base. The others began to smirk and laugh a little as they said, okay, where the hell is this place? I mean, all I see is grass for miles. Naruto received no response to his question. What's so funny? However, Yugito and Killer Bee, who were in the front of the group, vanished a short while later. What the hell? The others soon vanished, and Naruto discovered why. This location was concealed by an invisible wall that Naruto passed through. Naruto was shocked by the place's enormity and exclaimed, okay, how the hell did you not know where this place was earlier? This place is freaking huge. It was a quarter of Konoha's size. To help her son understand, Haruka said, this place is hidden by a powerful genjutsu. Most dujutsu cannot see it. We only found it by following some tips. Saru shouted softly to the rest of the ground, everyone hide. To conceal the group, Naruto summoned the Shroud of Shadows. The group was soon overtaken by a swarm of blue mechas. Naruto reversed the invisibility once the coast was clear. What the hell were those? Yugito slapped Naruto on the head, causing him to begin nursing his head in reaction to the pain. "Naruto, be quiet, do you want those things to come back?" Yugito asked. Haruka cautioned Naruto against attempting to battle those creatures by himself, saying, "Naruto, those were Endlave. They are a very powerful weapon." "Are those the reason why we need so much firepower?" he asked, and the other members of the group nodded in agreement. The Kumo team made the decision to divide into 3-person groups. Naruto was paired with Tiger and Wolf. Hawk and Falcon teamed up with Killer Bee. Saru, Haruka, and Yugito comprised the final group. The groups were instructed to maintain constant radio contact. The goal of every group was to locate a research lab with a local name. An enemy patrol was encountered by Naruto's group. Naruto began to follow the patrol and waited until the foursome dispersed. "Hey, I just thought of a way to make this a lot easier." One of the four eventually went off on his own. Naruto turned invisible with the Shroud of Shadow and started to approach the unwary guard, who was smoking at the time. Naruto called forth Tiger's Void and disarmed the Shroud of Shadow. The man was stepping on his cigarette to extinguish it after finishing it. Naruto abruptly grabbed the man, holding the dagger to his neck with his right hand while covering his mouth with his left. The man nodded in agreement with Naruto's statement, saying, "Easy buddy. I know you're just following orders and I don't want to kill you for that." Before the man could respond in any way, Naruto stabbed him in the thumb, and the dagger started to draw blood from the wound. "Okay, I'm going to need a little bit of your blood." Memories from the guard flooded Naruto's mind. He quickly located what he was seeking. Naruto then struck him in the neck, knocking him out. "Don't worry, I'm a man of my word. You'll wake up with a slight headache but you'll live." Wolf was very interested in the power of kings, so he asked, "Naruto, did you find the location?" Although he had heard tales of its powers, nothing compared to actually witnessing it. Pointing to a collection of distant buildings, one of which was roughly 3 times larger than the others, Naruto said, "Yeah, at that tall building over there." "Everyone Naruto's found the lab, it's inside that tall building." Saru said in a voice that was obviously annoyed, "Damn it, why that one of all the places?" "Saru, what's wrong? That building is heavily guarded, we'll have to wait until I can clearly see an opening." Naruto wanted to charge right in, but he knew that wouldn't work out. "How long will that take?" he asked. "I can't say, but your team should be able to sneak in if you use the lightning armor jutsu with my void along with Ace as well." Naruto's shoulder was grabbed by both Tiger and Wolf, who said, "All right, Wolf. Tiger, hold on to me." Both Aya's and Saru's voids are equipped by Naruto. Then Naruto's body was encircled by lightning sparks. Before turning the 3 of them invisible, Naruto prepared himself. He and his group were launched by Naruto, and they touched down on the roof in 3 seconds. Naruto went back to his usual self. "All right, Saru, we're on the roof. I don't think anyone saw us." "Good, now there should be a vent that you should be able to enter." "I see it. See you guys soon inside, good luck." Wolf opened the vent and went inside. Tiger trailed behind him, and then Naruto came in. Vents, everything was going smoothly. Well, one thing to anticipate. At the moment, Naruto was blushing wildly and had his head down. He had to use all of his strength to avoid getting a nosebleed from the gorgeous person in front of his face. "Naruto, are you okay?" Tiger asked, noticing that he was breathing heavily and that his face was red. He could see why Naruto was so agitated, and Wolf was dying inside. "I'm fine, don't worry about me." The group soon discovered a large room visible through the vent. They noticed that some people were inside. Naruto employed the second power of the Shroud of Shadows, which is the ability to manipulate shadows. One of the men inside noticed a shadow of a person outside the room and said, "Hey, who's there?" The shadow seemed to flee. The men in the room soon left after saying, "Hey, get back here." The room was now deserted. When Naruto's team entered, they noticed something they hadn't anticipated. Large glass chambers revealed creatures of some kind. What the hell are these things? Naruto couldn't explain why he felt ill upon seeing these objects. Wolf points to a space across from the room and says, "Hey, there's a terminal over there." Tiger began looking through the files as soon as the team arrived at the terminal. Before long, she discovered a file that piqued her curiosity. Project New Atom was the name given to it. The team read the file that Tiger brought. The latest complete text was read by them. XX. XX. 4x of the 400 test subjects, only one ended up with success in subject 201. Another, who was involved in the Void Genome Project, ended up with some success in subject 324, but his skills were limited to subject 201. The apocalypse virus will kill you almost instantly if you come into contact with subject 324. The remaining subjects have become mindless animals with a single apparent objective: to find people who possess the Void Genome. The crystals that the apocalypse virus produces are greatly controlled by these beasts, which is why they were once a test subject for Project New Eve. They are also capable of producing a high-pitched scream that can induce fainting. Despite the creature's incredibly strong armor, jutsu appears to weaken it. The most effective methods for defeating the subject appear to be ration jutsus and strikes from void weapons. In the hopes that they won't fail, we should be getting more test subjects soon. Those sick bastards. Naruto felt sickened by the pictures that were included in the report. Tiger took out a hard drive and plugged it into the computer, making the statement, "Here I begin the data transfer." Alright, it shall. Warning. Warning, unauthorized data transfer in room 3457. Warning, unauthorized data transfer in room 3457. Oh shit. As Haruka shouted over the radio, "Tiger, come in, what the hell is going on?" The computer had a tracking program. Shit, Saru, how bad is it looking? The whole base is heading to the building. You guys need to get out of there. With a serious expression on his face, Naruto asked, "Tiger, how long will the transfer take?" "Around 5 minutes. Bullshit, nothing takes 5 minutes. Ka-san, we'll hold out here until the transfer done. Karabi. Sama, are you in the tower yet?" "Yeah, we's in the tower, baby. Go to plan B." Karabi and his team left for work with the words, "Got ya, see you in a few." Although there were only a handful, Wolf was certain that a greater force would arrive shortly. "Hey, they're coming," he exclaimed. Naruto. Naruto calls forth Wolf's Void and prepares to launch it, saying, "I'm on it." Before long, 10 men came into the room. A spear pierced the man's chest, where his heart was, before he could finish his sentence. Freeze. But Naruto was shocked by something else. All of the men were killed when the spear splintered into 10 pieces and stabbed them in the heart. Holy shit. Naruto was shocked to learn that Wolf's Void possessed such a talent. "Tiger, how much longer?" "It's at 45%. Naruto, the second wave coming." Naruto hurled Wolf's own Void at him, and he caught it. Wolf catch. The entire room would be destroyed if Naruto used Inori's Void instead of summoning Tiger's Void. Before long, they were surrounded by more than 30 people. They surrounded them rather than following the first group's lead. Wolf threw his Void as they all leapt to the ground, but he was unable to use all of its power because he lacked the Void Genome. The spear only split into 3 pieces, but they were all aimed directly at the heart. Wolf reasoned that a kunai would be more effective than his Void. When he let go of his emptiness, it transformed into silver strips and came back to him. At the moment, Naruto was engaged in combat with multiple men. An individual brandishing a kunai attempted a head-on assault, but Naruto deflected and sliced through the man's weapon. After that, Naruto kicked the man and threw him into another GHQ member. When he noticed that Naruto was facing away, another GHQ man charged at him. Naruto, however, turned around and gave the man a chest stab wound. 3 of the men began making a series of hand signals after realizing they couldn't approach Naruto. To increase its power, one launched a fireball, another a wind blast, and the final one used a lightning jutsu. Oh shit. Naruto called forth Karabi Void when he saw the explosion coming. Naruto gave the 8 small pieces instructions to form a circle. Naruto was shielded from the blast by the shield formed when the bits formed the circle. "No way, that was our strongest move," exclaimed the man who initiated the fireball, incredulously. "Come on, it was Ju." Naruto's command to enter attack mode caused the second man's sentence to be interrupted. The tips of the bits formed energy blades that were just as sharp as the swords infused with Karabi's ration. Naruto started tearing the other enemies to pieces as the pieces tore the men apart. What the hell, there's no end to these guys. Despite the fact that Wolf and Naruto were eliminating these men, more kept showing up. It would appear that 2 more would appear to replace each person they killed. As Naruto grew weary of this, He called forth Yugito's void and started using the blue energy blasts to destroy these guys. Hey, save some for me. Wolf was amazed at how quickly things had changed. Only a few seconds before, they were in danger of becoming overwhelmed. Tiger started to say, the data transfer finished. Let get. But an endlave burst through the wall. Without thinking, Naruto called forth Inori's void and hurled a metallic strip that destroyed the mech by severing it in two. However, Naruto failed to restrain himself, and his blow sliced through 10 floors. Saru, Yugito, and Haruka were 7 floors up from Naruto's team. A few feet in front of them, a metallic strip sliced the floor open, and they were terrified. Yugito was furious, saying, Naruto, what the hell, that almost hit us. Sorry, I forgot to hold back. Yeah, just ma. Warning. Warning, the cryogenic stasis module has received major damage. Unable to keep subjects 001.400 in check. Please repair immediately. Naruto remarked, oh crap. He and his group could hear glass splintering all around them. Naruto soon saw one of these things, which was much more crystallized than before. If anyone knows the names of the monsters from the OVA, that would be fantastic. The beast screamed so loudly that everyone in the room had to cover their ears. Naruto exclaimed, my head, in agonizing pain. Focusing and charging up Yugito Void required all of his energy. When the blue ball of energy had grown to a respectable size, Naruto let it loose, destroying the creature. Wolf walked to the door, followed shortly after by Naruto and Tiger, saying, let's move, I don't want to be here when another one of those things get here. They could hear what sounded like fighting in the distance as they began to move through the base. They soon heard more commotion in the area. Before long, they heard what sounded like a chainsaw spinning upward. Naruto was already tired of strange noises today, so he asked, what the hell is making all that noise? Members of GHQ rushed through the wall with an endlaves. I don't know, but let portion. Then they noticed a short, blue-haired girl standing next to a man wearing a red hood. The man in the red hood, who resembled an older Shu, began to approach a member of GHQ. The man's voice was so filled with fear that the words, no, stay away from me, you fucking monster, were insufficient. The GHQ member was seized by the man in the red hood, and the apocalypse virus struck and killed him instantly. The blue-haired girl said in a blank voice, Scrooge, you don't hold back, do you? With the same expressionless tone, Scrooge answered, shut up. The hell just happened? Naruto was astounded by how quickly he could spread the virus. He's the guy from the report, don't let him touch you. Tiger and the other members of the team are now prepared in case he attacks. Scrooge observed them assuming a combat stance. Though not nearly as fast as Naruto or A, he charged at them at a rate far faster than most Junin. It was up to Naruto since he realized the other would not be able to keep up with his speed. After donning his lightning armor, Naruto charged Scrooge. Scrooge was punched by Naruto. Everyone was shocked when Scrooge blocked Naruto's punch, not only because none of the cage's powers could block Naruto's lightning armor enhanced punch, but also because nothing happened to Naruto. Naruto and Scrooge both exclaimed, how in the hell are you not dead? Look like that trick of yours doesn't work on me. Well, your punch was weak. Weak? How the he? Scrooge punched Naruto in the stomach, sending him flying through a wall, and Naruto realized what Scrooge meant by weak. Fuck, that really hurts. Without the protection provided by the Raikage's lightning armor, Naruto would have perished. Huh? You're still alive. Sorry, I'm a tough bastard. It's going to take a lot more than that to kill me. Damn it, that last attack was as strong Kurabi's Hachibi punch. Wolf. Tiger, you two go on ahead, I'll fight this guy. Naruto, have you lost it? There's no way we'll let fight this guy alone. After Naruto's most recent attack, Wolf and Tiger couldn't believe he would even consider fighting this guy by himself. If you tried to even touch him, you'll die, both of you. The mission takes priority. But even so, you're ONL. Listen, you two will only get in my way right now. Don't worry, if things get out of hand, I'll run okay. Tiger refused to leave, saying, Naruto, you still need help, you can't win every battle by yourself. Holding it up to her face, Naruto conjured up Tiger's void. Remember, I never fight alone. Wolf wanted to help Naruto in any way, so he said, Naruto, pull out my void again. Through the gap in his mask, Naruto peered into Wolf's eyes. Something glowed on his chest. Naruto produced a long, jagged crystal stone that transformed into a spear. Tiger and Wolf nodded in agreement with Naruto, saying, "Thank you, now you two go on ahead, but be careful, I'm getting a bad feeling from something up ahead." Only Naruto, Scrooge, and Carol remained in the room after Tiger and Wolf left. Scrooge and Naruto exchanged eye contact. Blue and red met. Naruto started to equip his lightning armor jutsu, but it was black instead of the typical blue lightning sparks. "I was going to use this in the finals of the Chunin exams, but this will be good practice." "Nay, Scrooge. It's time." Scrooge placed his hand inside Carol's glowing chest and withdrew a massive blade that was nearly as large as Inori's void, saying, "I will steal your soul." Scrooge charged at Naruto after revving up the chainsword. Naruto battled Scrooge's chainsword and conjured Inori's void. Sparks started to emerge, and although Naruto's and Scrooge's attacks were now equally powerful, Naruto was quicker. Scrooge wasn't slowing down as Naruto started to land more blows. Naruto had to line up the little disc shields that Inori's void created after Scrooge managed to make him block his attack. Scrooge started cutting the shields the way a chainsaw cuts down a tree. Naruto then thought of a brilliant plan before saying, "Damn it, not good. I'm about to lose my black armor." After stepping back from Scrooge, Naruto charged a blast and called forth Falcon's Void, the Dark Cannon. A black sphere of energy was shot by the blast, and soon after, everyone except Naruto was pulled into it. However, he must remain motionless and concentrate on stabilizing the black hole if he wants the Dark Cannon to have black hole-like power. After being forced to release Carol's void, Scrooge used the crystal he controlled to make his feet adhere to the ground. Carol was being sucked up by the black sphere when he grabbed her. Carol's orange eyes caught Scrooge's attention once more. On her chest, a glowing patch appeared. Naruto was utterly shocked by what transpired next. Scrooge produced another void. This shape resembled Yugito's void, but it was shaped like a cross at the end of a barrel rather than round. Naruto was speechless and said, "A second void from the same person, that's impossible." Scrooge charged up a blast from the void gun, but Naruto didn't see it. When Scrooge threw his blue ball of energy at the black sphere, it broke into its component parts. Damn it. Naruto summoned Yugito's void and stored Falcon's void. Scrooge and Naruto are now surrounded by one another. They both began to blast each other with energy in a rage. Their attacks were neutralizing one another. A huge energy blast was charged by both of them. The blue spheres are launched by the two when their attacks are of the same size. There was a power struggle between their attacks. In the end, they produced a massive explosion. Carol, Scrooge, and Naruto were all sent flying, but Scrooge shielded Carol by absorbing the majority of the blast. The black lightning armor jutsu of Naruto waned. Scrooge and Naruto both stood up and prepared to attack one another once more when they noticed a purple substance seeping from the wall. The spots on the wall now numbered in the hundreds, and they both thought, "That the hell is this stuff?" Naruto escaped the attack by a few centimeters when one of the spots abruptly leapt out at him. Naruto then turned to face his potential assailant. The body of the creature he saw appeared to be composed of crystals. This creature had one red eye and 5 legs. They resemble Ings from Metroid Prime 2. The beast then attacked again and transformed back into a pool of goo. More and more soon appeared. The two void users were now encircled by the beasts. Naruto knew that even he was outnumbered against these numbers, and this guy probably couldn't handle these things alone. Great, there's 3 of us and 400 of them. Hey, temporary truce till we kill these things. Scrooge said, "Fine." Scrooge continued to wield the void gun while Naruto equipped Haruka's void. The hand portion of Haruka's void was launched by Naruto. It caught hold of one of the creatures, but the beast changed back into goo before Naruto could use the pulse blast. Naruto failed to notice the one behind him that jumped on him because he was too preoccupied with the one that turned into goo. A blue ball of energy struck the beast before it could deliver a final blow. The beast started to disintegrate. Scrooge returned to his destroying of the creatures after saying, "Don't let your guard down." After that, Naruto made a number of hand gestures. Naruto still had Haruka Void in his right arm, and black lightning struck his left arm. Now, from Haruka's Void, Naruto released an energy beam that struck multiple creatures. After that, Naruto spun around and hurled a panther composed of black lightning, which began striking the creatures. The creatures turned into goo, but the panther continued to shock them, causing them to evaporate. Hawk's Void was called forth by Naruto. From the white cannon, he charged up a shot. The white sphere behaved like a shotgun shell, causing a solar flare. The one sphere divided into several smaller ones. Its ability to move the spheres at nearly the speed of light was its greatest strength, not this. A few of the creatures stopped moving, and Scrooge watched as they burst into white flames. Scrooge said, "That's one hell of a void." Naruto then dispatched another of these creatures, saying, "Thanks." Before long, the number of beasts was declining. Abruptly, one of the beasts let out a cry of some kind. After that, the other beast changed into feces and began to move back toward their origin. What just happened? Something was calling to Naruto, Carol, and Scrooge as they began to leave the room. "I don't know, but let's not stay here." In order to avoid coming across as strange, Naruto asked, "Hey, do you feel that?" Scrooge sensed something strong and pure evil, and he said, "Yeah, let's both move there. I don't know what's up there, but I don't like it." "Hey, because we are going to be working together, we should know at least each other's name. My name's Naruto Oma." Scrooge. Carol. "No last names?" Scrooge replied, "No, we were not given any." "I see. Hey, could you answer a few more questions?" Ask. "What happened to you two, and why does she have more than one void?" "I don't know, they started experimenting on us." Scrooge's expression was one of dissatisfaction. "Look al santo," a voice commanded, "you must stop the being ahead of you." Everyone halted their motion. They both nodded in agreement. "Hey Scrooge, Carol, did you hear that?" Naruto knew that he would have to get back up because the awful feeling he was experiencing was getting worse. "Here, I'm going to see if my teammates can help us with whatever it is that's ahead." Naruto tried using the radio earpiece, but all he received was static. "Ka-san, can you hear me?" he asked. "The hell?" "Scrooge, Carol, we're on our own." Scrooge hurriedly picked up Carol and carried her, saying, "Come on, let's move." Naruto swiftly overtook the two by donning the lightning armor. They soon discovered more of the crystal creatures that Naruto had seen before he met Carol and Scrooge. Naruto called forth the Singer Sword and killed the crystal monster with a metallic strip before the creature could launch that screech attack. As they progressed, more and more of those things emerged. They seemed to be traveling in the same direction as their group. They arrived at a vast space where they could see two sizable rooms that were at least a few stories high. A terminal was visible to Naruto close to one of the rooms. The screen was flashing the words, "Project Eden," on the screen. There was a button that said, "Simulation." When Naruto pressed it, he was astounded by what he saw. The elemental nations were shown on a map. When the simulation began, it displayed that the project had completed the entire map in less than 10 days. "This is bad, Scrooge, Carol, we have to destroy this thing." Naruto jumped and broke one of the chambers without noticing a pool of purple goo. Shit. The glass began to shatter even more, and then a massive creature broke it. Its body was humanoid, and its skin was translucent with a hint of purple. The house from Resident Evil 6 appears to be the case. It let out a roar. Both Scrooge and Naruto called forth their blades. "Naruto, go for the arms, we'll go for the chest." Naruto assumed a fighting stance and said, "Fine by me." The trio leapt at Project Eden while holding Carol in Scrooge's arms. Eden's long limbs were slashed by Naruto, but it suddenly moved. After another attempt, Naruto managed to make a shallow cut on Eden's arm. Then, Naruto slashes his sword, releasing a strip of metal. The arm was successfully severed by the attack this time. Eden screamed so loudly that black blood appeared to be streaming from the stub of his arm. It started to grab Naruto with its still good arm. Naruto was crushed by Eden. While Scrooge was aware that Naruto was in danger, he was more concerned about Eden's weakness. After leaping onto Eden, Scrooge started chopping open Eden's chest. With a cry of agony, the beast hurled Naruto against the wall. Even though Naruto managed to lessen the force of the blow, it still hurt a lot. "Aim for its chest, Naruto!" Scrooge yells. After calling forth Yugito's void, Naruto charged a shot. Naruto infused it with Kuro ration chakra once it had grown to a respectable size. The hole in Eden's chest was struck by the blue sphere, which was now glimmering with black lightning. Eden screamed a few times and then collapsed. Scrooge and Naruto were both panting. Did we get it? I think so. Scrooge's respiration was gradually getting back to normal. A familiar voice called through Naruto's radio earpiece. Naruto, come in, can you hear me? Ka-san? Are you alright? Naruto, I'm fine, so is everyone else. Naruto, there was something jamming our radios, we took take of it. Naruto, there's a project named Eden, if you come across it don't fight it, wait for us. Oh, I already killed it. Wait, you already fought? Naruto, answer this. Did you seal it away? No. Why? Haruka yelled. Naruto, run, over the microphone. Why, it's Ilrea. Naruto dodged an attack from the resurrected Eden by making a last-minute move. It's still alive. Scrooge pulled out the chainsword, and Naruto called forth the Singer Sword. Naruto, same plan. In contrast to the previous time, the beast's stub arm from its crystals appeared and replaced the lost arm after Naruto threw another metallic strip at it and severed one of Eden's arms. It's healing itself. Scrooge attempted to strike the beast's chest at this point, but it immediately recovered when Eden's rib cage was opened. Scrooge was pushed away by Eden. The beast was surrounded by tiny purple spheres. The three awaited the beast's next move. When the creature released purple energy beams from the spheres, they quickly learned. Crystals from the apocalypse virus would appear wherever these beams struck. Then the beast launched a barrage of shards of crystal at them. Carol was seized by Scrooge to protect them from harm. After dodging the attack with the help of the lightning armor jutsu, Naruto managed to position himself behind Eden. However, Eden turned its head 180 degrees and then threw a volley of crystal shards at Naruto before he could strike its back. To defend himself, Naruto had to lift the Singer Sword. When Scrooge noticed that Eden was focused on Naruto, he severed one of Eden's arms, but it quickly regrows. Scrooge was growling, "Damn it, how the hell do we kill it?" Haruka's void was called forth by Naruto. He tried to fry Eden with the wide-shot blast, but it didn't work. Naruto used his radio earpiece and said, "Damn it, nothing working, wait, I've got it. Kurabi. Sama is plan B good to go, ready whenever, kid. Get the others out of here. Yo, you sure, this shit is gonna be huge." Speaking for the others, Haruka exclaimed, "What the hell is plan B?" Yugito never liked the plans these two would make. Once, one of their schemes nearly destroyed half of Kumo. I would also like to hear about this. Some members of the team questioned why Naruto wouldn't reveal the nature of this plan after he said, "Later, just get going." Fine, we'll go, but if it's something reckless, Naruto, you'll be in big trouble. Don't worry, it not too reckless. Kurabi led the others outside and said, "Naruto, you'll know when we're outside." For a few minutes, Naruto and Scrooge engaged in combat with Eden. Outside, in the meantime, Tiger, who also didn't like Naruto and Kurabi's plans, became enraged and said, "All right, can you tell us what this plan is?" Kurabi made a very familiar hand gesture and said, "Just look." The eyes of all but Hawk and Falcon widened. The hand signal for setting off a paper bomb was that. Before long, the tower where they were was exploding. Returning to Eden, the first explosion is heard by Naruto. It started. Scrooge never liked explosions, so he said, "Naruto, what the hell is going on?" Naruto hurled a red beam from Haruka's void into the ceiling, creating a hole where the sun could be seen, and said, "Come, we have to leave this place." After equipping Ayaza's void, Naruto seized hold of Carol and Scrooge. Eden wanted to play even though Naruto started to fly up. Eden hurled a flurry of shards of crystal. They were getting close to hitting Naruto, but he was dodging them. Scrooge, do something about this. Scrooge took out the void gun and started shooting at the shards, saying, "On it." A big piece of the building fell on Eden's outstretched arm just as it was ready to grab the three and crush them. A huge explosion nearly swallowed the three. Scrooge, Carol, and Naruto managed to get outside. Naruto noticed his teammates on a nearby building's roof. Naruto. "Hey guy." Haruka slapped Naruto across the face. "Ow. Ka-san, what was that for? You idiot." Naruto saw that she was crying. "How could you do something so reckless?" Naruto now gave his adoptive mother a hug and said, Ka-san. The mother-son moment was deemed sweet by all. You stupid son, do you know how I feel if I lost you? Something was moving among the tower's debris. Eden sprang up from the debris, looking bigger than ever. Eden had grown to the size of a tailed beast. It roared and storm clouds rolled in. Nobody believed what they were witnessing. Naruto was about to move, but he stumbled and fell to one knee, saying, God damn it, it's still alive. Two hands stopped him before he could stand up. Yugito told her younger brother, Naruto, you've done more than enough. Rest for the time being. Nay. Chan. With a beat, Kurabi said, don't worry, we're going to give this motherfucker an ass whopping. At Eden, the two Jinchuriki jumped. Both Kurabi and Yugito changed into their tailed beasts. The 8-tailed octopus ox and the 2-tailed cat showed up. Eden was charged by the 2. Eden attempted to strike one of the Jinchurikis after cutting his arm, but the 2 leapt high and evaded the blow. Kurabi stabbed through Eden with his tentacles. The apocalypse virus spread onto Kurabi's tentacles after Eden clung to 2 of them. Before they became infected, Kurabi removed the remaining tentacles. The diseased tentacles had to be severed by Kurabi. Eden started to mend itself. Kurabi, my regeneration is nowhere as fast as that thing's, don't touch it. Sorry, I didn't think it would infect us. Eden failed to notice Yugito and Matabi behind him because he was too preoccupied with Kurabi and Gyuki. A barrage of fireballs was released by the blue firecat. Eden had severe burns on her skin. Crystals covered the burned area, and the wound healed when the crystals vanished. Yugito had never witnessed a regeneration ability so quick. Damn it, this guy heals way too fast. Yugito focus. Matabi was aware that this would not be simple. Yugito now hurried to Eden and said, I know. She bit off one of Eden's legs after slashing at them. After Eden's leg healed, it called forth a number of purple spheres. It started firing again at beam attack. While Yugito managed to evade the attack, Kurabi was unable to do so. The body of the 2-tailed cat was covered in crystals. Yugito.ne. Naruto, who just witnessed the death of his older sister figure. Or so he believed. The big crystal lump started to break. The 2-tailed fire cat was clearly visible despite the crystal breaking into numerous pieces. Yugito was fortunate that she was composed of fire in this form. Naruto, you think too little of me. I won't die that easily. Kurabi, let do it. We gonna give this fucker a blast. Now, both Jinchuriki began gathering blue and red chakra in front of their mouths. They started to form a massive black chakra sphere. The air became dense. The black spheres were hurled at Eden by the 2 beasts. There was a tremendous explosion when the black sphere struck Eden. Before long, they heard Eden's last cries. Kurabi and Yugito went back to the others. They just used a lot of chakra, and Naruto could tell. Kurabi. Sama. Yugito.ne, you guys alright? They were both panting heavily. We're fine, just tried. Yeah, the bee needs a small break. Emerging from the debris, Eden exclaimed. Well, at least it Fina. Are you fucking kidding me? How the hell are we supposed to kill this thing? First to question whether it was even possible, Saru asked, can we even kill this thing? The other soon started to lose faith. Naruto spoke up when nearly everyone had given up. Is this your resolve? If so, how can you call yourself a shinobi of Kumo? Saru questioned why he still had hope, saying, Naruto, we just used our trump card. How the hell are we going to kill this thing? Naruto's eyes turned red when he opened them after closing them for a short while. Everyone felt hopeful after hearing the statement, it's never over until we're dead, and last time I checked we're still alive. So Naruto, what the plan? Naruto's right arm mark started to glow as he said, you guys hold him back while I get something ready. Scrooge, please, we need your help. Fine, I hate anything made by these bastards. Thank you. Now all you move. Naruto was left alone on the roof as the group proceeded towards Eden. Once again, Kurabi and Yugito changed into their tailed beast forms. Hawk and Falcon started using a mix of Kaden and Raiden Jutsu. Saru started to plant paper bombs on Eden's neck after climbing on top of it. Haruka wrapped Eden's feet in Doden Jutsu, preventing it from moving. Eden was now imprisoned by Tiger in a genjutsu. She is using all of her resources to keep Eden confined. After calling forth the chainsword, Scrooge started chopping out organs from Eden. However, this doesn't seem to have any impact. Now, Yugito was engulfing Eden in a sea of blue fire while Karabi was throwing punches at Eden in a flurry. The group was not slowing down at all. Now, Naruto called forth Yugito's void, but this time it was different. There were white lines down the black surface. Curved blades protruded from its body. 4 of the 8 bits that had been called forth now stood in front of Yugito's void barrel. The clockwise rotation of these started. The other 4 bits started to spin counterclockwise after they appeared 4 feet ahead of the other 4. Naruto was surrounded by spheres that were black, white, blue, red, and silver in color. Naruto started gathering the spheres into one big sphere. Black halos encircled the sphere, which had a white core surrounded by red. The bits started to accelerate toward them. Naruto shouted, "Everyone move," to alert the others. Get at least 500 meters away from each other. It was evident to Naruto. He launched the attack with the words, Jinchuriki Cannon. After passing through the first set of bits, the tiny sphere grew larger than a Bijudama, and as it passed through the second set of bits, its speed significantly increased. It traveled swiftly to Eden. When it got near Eden, it broke up into multiple spheres and began to circle Eden. Then all of a sudden they expanded and reached Eden. The smaller spheres now formed a single, large white sphere, and the beast started to scream in agony. The others were compelled to shield their eyes from the white sphere. Metal strips were shredding Eden inside the sphere. The white sphere vanished after a few seconds. The land where Eden once stood was gone when the group opened their eyes. Every building and piece of land in the area was gone. Dirt was all that was left. The first to say, he did it, was Hawk. At that moment, Haruka was extremely proud of her son and said, "You're damn right he did." Scrooge remarked, "I suppose he is the one destined to be king." "Don't be sad, Scrooge," Carol said to her partner. They all turned to face their savior, but as they turned to face him, they noticed Naruto falling backwards. Naruto. The Kumo members hurried to him. He was on the ground, motionless, when they got to him. His vitals were checked, and he was fine. He had simply tried and fainted from exhaustion. Carol and Scrooge headed for the other members of the group. The others assumed a defensive posture as they approached Naruto. Carol, however, chose to follow Naruto despite this. Then Carol touched his head. The first to say, "This kid is really reckless," was Carol. Haruka asked, "What do you mean by that?" because she didn't have much faith in these men. This kid just fused together several voids at once. He what? Combining voids is an ability that the power of kings gives. Normally when fusing voids together the user should be fine, but if they fuse a lot of very powerful voids then this will happen, she said while pointing to Naruto. Will he be fine? He will after a little rest? Somewhere. Right now, Naruto was floating in a familiar location. When he first gained the power of kings, he was in this same location. Naruto started to panic, saying, "Where the hell am I? Wait, I died." A voice called out, "Calm down, Naruto. Who's there?" Someone who looked exactly like Shu said, "Me." "You're me." "Not quite, I have no form, so I took this appearance." "I see, anyway why am I here?" "You're currently passed out, man, you were sure reckless. Combining so many powerful voids together, it's a miracle you're still alive." The man laughed. "So why did you pull me here? I'm sure it wasn't just to say hi." "You're right, Naruto, there is a great threat coming." "When? I can't tell, but you need to become much stronger in order to face this threat. You need to master the void genome." "Master it? Naruto. I'll tell you later, but it seems like our time is up." The man quickly disappeared, and Naruto's surroundings soon followed suit. "Go back outside." Carol and Scrooge were both taken aback by the question, "So where are you two going?" As others did, Scrooge was sure that these men would attempt to capture him. "You're not going to capture us?" he asked. "No, we're ordered to take and destroy any data from this place. Test subject wealth, that's another thing." Carol merely nodded his head to indicate that she didn't really have a plan either. "I see, well I don't really know. Carol?" he asked. "Hey, let's take them back with us," Naruto said as he slowly stood up. Tiger was shocked to see Naruto standing up and said, "Naruto, don't move so much, he could not possibly be okay." "I'm fine." "So Scrooge, Carol, what do you say? I could use a training partner." The two exchanged glances and considered it. Both of them quickly came up with a solution. "We got nothing else, so why the hell not?" Naruto started to move, and soon the other followed, but as they did, Naruto dozed off on the ground. "Great, come on, let's get the hell out of this place." Baka, was the universal thought. Random village a day later. Naruto awoke in an unidentified room. Soon after, he learned that the group had brought his body to this tiny village so they could rest. The group soon started moving once more. A fork in the road appeared. Wolf said, "Well, this is where we split." Haruka told her son, "Naruto, we'll come see you in the finals." Naruto said, "K-ka.san." Kurabi and the others departed. Kurabi and Naruto soon started their journey back to Konoha. Secret base in the interim. Several people were searching through the base's debris. A video was being viewed by one. Naruto's final blast on Eden is seen in the video. The man's hair was purple. This boy, that light. Beautiful. An adolescent with long blonde hair who appeared to be Naruto's age said, "Shut it, Sagai." A pink-haired girl said, "Triton, you know he can't help himself." Sagai's tone was overly dramatic as he said, "Oh Mana-chan, I'm happy that you understand me." Guy appeared somewhat irritated by Sagai's demeanor. The trio's antics were being watched by two men. The pale-skinned man asked, "So we still have our deal?" "Of course, Orochimaru. We will aid in your attack on Konoha. We will get the boy and you will have your Uchiha," the elderly gentleman replied. "You're a very unusual person, I don't trust you." "I don't trust you either, Orochimaru." The two men started giggling uncontrollably. Konoha is one village away. At the moment, Kurabi and Naruto were taking a brief rest. They were chowing down on some delicious dango. Kurabi made the decision to talk after the two had finished their meal. Kurabi said, "Naruto, you should change." Naruto's image changed from blonde hair and blue eyes to brown hair and red eyes, and he said, "Yeah, I will." "Let's go." Kurabi and Naruto then relocated to Konoha. Gates of Konoha. The gates of Konoha were guarded by two men. Both of them noticed a pair approaching the gate. The guards spoke as the two came to a halt at the gates. "State your name and reason for coming." Kurabi stated gravely, "Kurabi and Shu-Oma, we had to return to Kumo for a family emergency." The man hands them each a sheet and says, "I see. Whatever the problem was, I hope it was fixed." Before the man signed the sheet and handed it back to the guard, Naruto, Shu said, "Thank you." Now, concealed by the leaves, the two made their way into the village. Kurabi and Shu parted ways and went their separate ways. Shu knew where he wanted to go, but he had to act lost to avoid coming across as familiar with the town. He had a specific destination in mind. He was still hungry. Naruto headed toward a tiny store. He was liked there, and the food was excellent. Ichiraku stood here. Shu was standing outside of it when he began to recall all of his pleasant memories of this place. He then recalled the unpleasant ones, and finally he recalled that night all those years ago. Then Shu came into the stand. An older man said, "Welcome, what can I get for you?" Ayame and Tucci were both taken aback when Shu sat down and said, 7 bowl of miso ramen. Only one family that they were aware of was able to consume that much in a single meal. Tucci didn't like to waste his delicious food, so he asked, "Are you sure? That's a lot of food." The father and daughter now worked on preparing the meal. "Yeah, I'm sure." Shu inhaled the first bowl rather than eating or drinking it when it was ready. To stay up, Ayame and Tucci had to put in more overtime. Tucci had one question about this boy by the time Shu was on his 7th bowl. Tucci joked that, "Kid, you wouldn't happen to be a namikaze." Shock nearly caused Shu to choke, but she managed to keep it down. Shu retorted cynically, "There's no way I'm related to the Hokage. I'm from Kumo." This time, Naruto choked as he heard 3 people enter. "Well, you sure eat like one. Oh, speak of the devil." The fact that they, of all people, had to appear today astounded Naruto. The 2 women with red hair and Minato, the blonde bastard. Yui Namikaze and Kushina. To stop Shu from choking, Minato struck him on the back. Shu nodded his head to indicate that he was all right. You okay? Tucci gave us the usual. When their daughter saw Shu, Minato and Kushina failed to notice that she blushed. Tucci pointed to Shu, who was starting to feel a little uneasy, and said, "Boy, Hokage. Sama, you sure came at a great time. I think I found one of your family members." "Oh, what makes you say that?" Tucci always questioned whether the Namikaze truly tasted his food. "Well, the boy eats just like you do. Kid, you are tasting the food right." Shu indicated that he was tasting it by nodding. Tucci handed him another bowl and said, "Good, here." "Huh, but I order only 7. Kid, it's on the house. You can easily rival these guys over here." Shu ate the bowl, and the Namikaze were impressed. "Thank you." Kushina joked, "You might be part of our family." Shu was now perspiring. Kushina asked, "Are you sure you're okay?" After observing Shu's behavior and questioning whether he was ill. Shu paid for his meal and then left. "Yeah, I'm fine, excuse me, I have to get going." Minato said gravely, "That boy is hiding something." Kushina thought she had met the boy before the Chunin exam, so she said, "I know that Minato-kun." "Hey, where's Yui?" Minato exclaimed upon realizing Yui was no longer there. Tucci had witnessed numerous young maidens fall in love before, and Yui was displaying some of the same symptoms. "Oh, she went after that boy. I think she's got a crush on him." Minato nearly snapped. "What?" Minato started to follow her, but a golden chain stopped him. Minato was struck in the head. "Kushi-chan, what gives? If we don't go now, then our ba." Kushina never liked how much Yui inherited from her father, saying, "Minato, this is the first time Yui's actually shown a little bit of her feminine side, and I'll be damned if you tried to take this away from her." She wished Yui would behave less like a tomboy and more like a girl. When Minato said, "But she's far too young to have a boyfriend," she became an extremely protective parent. If this was Naruto and he was going after a girl, you would be telling to go for it, wouldn't you? "Ah well. Damn it, you're right." Kushina just demonstrated who is the family's boss after Minato loses. Hopeful she'll move on. She deserves to be happy. Kushina wished Naruto was still alive, but it was a little depressing to think he was gone after all these years. Rooftops in Konoha. Naruto had been searching for his teammates or anyone from Kumo, but he was wondering, where the hell are they? Currently, Naruto was trying to locate his teammates by jumping from rooftop to rooftop and using the Shroud of Shadows to make himself invisible, but he hasn't been successful yet. Streets in Konoha. As they searched for their teammate, Inori and Ace wondered, where the hell is he? Earlier, they had met Kurabi. He informed them that the last time he saw them, they parted ways at the gate. Having failed to locate him, Ace exclaimed, "Damn it, this place is huge." A voice that was all too familiar asked, "Would you like some help?" As they turned to face Yui, Inori and Ace both exclaimed, "Huh?" Inori didn't trust anyone who merely offered assistance, so she asked, "Yui Namikaze, why would you want to help us?" Both Inori and Ace felt as though a spear had just passed through them. "Well, I wanted because you look foolish and it's kind of sad." "Hey, I was just kidding. Geez, the reason I want to help you is because we're just that friendly here," Yui replied. "Well, we could use some help." Ace was aware that she was their best chance to locate Naruto and that their match was not personal. "All right, let's go check out some places." Yui's true goal was to learn more about these guys and discover the reasons behind Shu's actions. Remembering that Omoi had lost his match, Naruto began to head to the hospital, expecting his Tima, or at the very least, Kurabi's Tima, to be there. Hospital. Shu arrived at the hospital's gates. He arrived at the reception area. "Hi, I'm looking for a person named Omoi, he's from Kumo like me." The person at the front desk pointed to the hallway to Shu's left and said, "Oh, here, let me look it up for you. His room is 236. The stairs are down that hall, on your right." "Thank you." Shu did as she said. He quickly located the room. The door was knocked on. A voice said, "Come in." When Shu walked in, he saw Darui, his sensei, and the other members of Team 5. Knowing that the others were looking for him, Samui asked, "Shu, what are you doing here?" "Well, I thought that I should visit Omoi to see how he was doing, and I was hoping Ace and Inori would be here," he replied. They were here earlier this morning, but they left about an hour ago, said Karui. Shu, they said something about looking at some stores. Darui replied. Shu gave a nod before heading out of the room. He noticed a door that wasn't open when he first arrived open as he made his way down the hallway. He became interested, of course. A boy who would typically be hyper was hooked up to multiple machines when Naruto peered inside. Shu was unaware of how badly Lee's match had affected him. The fact that Lee was in the same room as the person who had caused his condition was the only thing that caught him off guard. Gaara's sand smelled strongly of iron, and he was oozing with intent to kill Lee. For the first time, his mother failed to protect him, and just as Gaara was about to attack, he felt a blade on his neck and stopped. I didn't think that you would be so low as to attack a man when he's down. Gaara was on the verge of losing it when she said, this boy was my prey yet he escaped. He must die. Shu knew how to handle a situation. Shu made Gaara smile by saying, here, let's settle this in the finals so that you can show everyone and please your mother, instead of making a mess here. Gaara chuckled and said, Oma Shu, your blood is the one I want the most. He then started to walk away. Gaara was about to attack when Lee woke up and realized Shu had stopped him. Thank you. Higher wake. Hey, you alright? I'm fine. Shu. My name is Oma Shu. Lee attempted to stand up, but Shu stopped him. I'm Rock Lee. Well, thank you. If you hadn't stepped in, I'm not too sure what would have happened to me. Wait, you're far too injured to move. Lee was stopped by Shu, who said, I must continue my training. Please, you have idea how I fei? Shu replied, I do. Lee was somewhat dubious. Lee recalled Shu's match and said, but you have natural talent. You don't have to work hard for anything. It was blatantly biased. I had to work hard every day. Lee, people thought I was garbage. My own parent didn't think I was good. They disowned me. Lee was taken aback. How could a highly skilled individual begin as he did? But I found people who knew I could be better. They worked me to the bone every day, but they knew I could do it. Lee, I'm like you. You're determined to show others wrong. Oma.san I see. Looks like hard work can make something great. Lee laughed when Shu said, damn right Dadbayo. Ha ha ha. Alright, I'll rest for now, but when I heal, I demand a match. Whenever you're ready, I'll be ready. Such youth, exclaimed Guy, who had just entered the room. Holy shit. Guy's abrupt shout startled Shu. Guy. Sensei, exclaimed Lee. Lee, your flames of youth, do they burn bright? Like a million suns, Guy. Sensei. Shu made the decision to leave this place immediately. Guy told Shu, wait, hi. Thank you, you've rekindled Lee's flames. Young man, what's your name? Oma Shu. Oma Shu.kun. You are a worthy rival for Lee and I hope you are victorious. Shu was perplexed and said, wait, but aren't you sensei of my opponent in the first round? Why would a sensei wish for his pupil to fail? Neji changed. He believed in that no matter what happened, a person's destiny cannot be changed. He is most unyouthful. Guy nodded, demonstrating that Shu was spot on. So in short, you want me to knock some sense into him. Don't worry, I was already going to wipe the floor with him. I'll show him what hard work can do. Guy bowed. Arigato. Shu simply gave a nod and walked out of the room. Streets in Konoha. Retail area. Ace was furious and said, we haven't found any sign of him. The three had been unsuccessful for several hours. The fact that it was scalding hot didn't help either. Yui said, I'm sure we'll find him soon. Inori was merely examining some of the items displayed in a few of the store's windows. She noticed a rock in the shape of a square trailing the group, just behind them. After telling the others, Inori hurried them to an alley. The box followed them, but it was unable to see the three of them when it turned. Someone inside the box asked, where did they go? All of a sudden, the surrounding area became very bright. Who turned on the lights? The three of them realized all of a sudden that their cover had been exposed. Yui said, so why are you following us, Konohamaru? Konohamaru shouted, run away, and his group took off running down the alley. A wall of purple crystal blocked their way as they ran down the alley. Yui smiled and said, now you're going to answer some of our questions, right? Moegi, Udon, and Konohamaru witnessed the red death of Konoha reappear. After this, they would require a change of clothes. Team Konohamaru just gave an explanation for why they were following the three girls. If you're bored, just say something, geez. Oni-chan, you didn't need to be so scary, sorry, it's in my blood. Ace felt disgusted and said, oh man, I need to take a bath. They perspired because of the heat and the way they questioned the young children. Ace and Inori exchanged a look and said, me too. Hey, there's a bathhouse close by, want to head there? Yui has only been helpful thus far, so they didn't really trust her. Both of them gave a nod. Yui followed Aya's advice to lead the way. Bathroom. After arriving at the bathhouse, the three girls were now taking off their clothes. Yui observes that Aya's legs have big scars. Inori opened her mouth to ask, hey, what happened to your legs? But Ace stopped her with a hand. Ace inhaled deeply. Ace started talking again just as Yui was about to ask a question. Before I lived in Kumo. When I was 4, a group of rogue nin attacked my village. My family survived the attack, but I got hurt in the attack. I was paralyzed from the waist down. My parents took me to a doctor who said I would never walk again. For 6 months I was stuck in a wheelchair. I felt so weak, but that all changed when this woman, who seemed at first to be a little drunk, came to my village. She said that I could walk again if she did a surgery on me. Ace appeared to be smiling as she talked about this female. I was a little worried at first, but I decided to do it. The woman performed the surgery, and when I recovered I could walk again. One of my best friends left with her because she wanted to learn under her. My friend had lost everything in the attack, so I'm glad the women took her. Yui could only think of one woman who was capable of doing this. This woman didn't happen to have blonde hair. Although there are other excellent medical nin, Yui was fairly certain who performed the surgery. Sorry, I can't remember. The girls went into the bath now. He discovered a bathhouse and was now standing just outside of it. He worked up a pretty bad stench after spending the entire day running around this fucking village. Shu made the decision to go inside and said, I suppose I could take a quick bath. He moved inside. He purchased shampoo, soap, and a towel. He was beginning to wash himself. Shu heard the sound of something being written and what sounded like perverted giggling, so he stopped what he was doing. Shu made the decision to investigate the source of the noise. He discovered a middle-aged man staring at something through the wall with very long, white, spiky hair. The middle-aged man cried out in disbelief, what the hell are you doing? Damn it, kid, you shouldn't sneak up behind someone like that, you almost gave me a heart attack. The older man began to chuckle once more. So what are you looking at? The older man stepped aside to reveal a hole in the wall and said, oh, it would be a sin if I hid this from another man. Here, look. Shu saw a man's paradise through the hole. He started to bleed from his nose. The middle-aged question was, hey kid, you alright? Shu managed to stop the blood out of his nose and said, yeah, I'm fine. Shu pulled himself together. He heard singing just as he opened his mouth to speak. The wild flowers that bloomed, those flowers. Oh, tell me, please. Why do people fight? Injuring each other. There was only one person Shu knew who could sing like this, so he said, wait, this song. Oh, the noble flower in bloom, what is visible from that location? Why are people unable to? Can we forgive each other? The song was now being listened to by everyone in the bathhouse, who were all in a trance. After the rain, summer arrived, became bluish. As one you shuddered a little, before me not a word. The man remarked, this song is so beautiful yet sad. Shu remarked, it's nice, isn't it, to my dying friend. What's on your mind? How can love be expressed? With those leaves that can't speak? The summer sun obscured. And the wind blew as they occur in tandem for the ones without names. I'll provide the evidence, they survived that. The entire bathhouse burst into cheers and applause as the song came to a close. That was amazing. Can you sing another song? The bathhouse adored her song, encore, encore. All of the attention was making Inori feel a little ashamed, but this feeling was short-lived because she heard a voice. Hey Inori, Ace, you guys there? Shu, shouted the two girls. Meet me outside. Both of the girls said, hi. Shu changed now and walked away from the men. Yui, Ace, and Inori dressed and left the women's side. Shu followed the white-haired man without noticing. Yui quickly followed after Shu saw Inori and Ace leave the women's side. Shu's hatred ought to have exploded inside of him when he saw Yui, but for some reason it didn't. He still harbored hatred, but not as much as usual. Ace, Inori, where have you two been? I've been looking all day for you. Aiza's voice was a little angry as she said, we've been looking for you all as well. Why didn't you go with Karabi? Sama, we were waiting for you there. Shu pointed at Yui and said, sorry, anyway why is she with you guys? Inori remarked, she helps us around the village. Shu appeared somewhat perplexed. Shu pretended to be courteous, but Yui couldn't tell and blushed. I see, thank you. Shu had to ponder for a while after Yui said, it was nothing. Hey, could you answer me a question? Why in the forest, did you help me? He lied, but Yui was unable to tell, saying, well from what I saw, it looked like that snake guy was going to rape you. I couldn't watch and do nothing. I see, thank you. Yui's face nearly turned scarlet. Ace and Inori were both shocked and knew why she was so red. The white-haired man said, my little Yui fancy seeing you here. Yui's shocked eyes enlarged. Yui said, Jiraiya. Sama, you're back. Jiraiya gestured to the door, and the two departed, saying, Yui, I need to speak with you. Who was that? Inquired Ace. Despite his anger, Shu didn't yell, Jiraiya of the Sanin. The man that trained that bastard Minato. Outside, in the meantime. At the moment, Yui and Jiraiya were conversing. Jiraiya. Sama, what are you doing here? Yui, Minato gave me a mission to spy on that boy. Why would 2.San give you a mission like that? Based on his behavior thus far, Jiraiya concluded, Yui, that kid is dangerous. His speed rivaled your father's. That kid must be hiding something. But he's saved me. Yui, for all we know that was just to get on your good side. Yui was about to respond, but she was unable to think of a suitable response. In the second section of the test, Shu's strength was astounding. There must have been something he was concealing. Yui, I'm pretty sure it's nothing, but I'll check just to make sure your crush isn't something dangerous. I don't have a crush on him, Yui exclaimed, her cheeks being red. Please, you're doing the same thing your mother did when she fell in love with your father. Hey wait, if this works out I could make the next part of my book. Jiraiya started laughing like a pervert. Yui was about to let loose the red rage again when she said, you will not use me for that smut of book you call art. Jiraiya swallowed in terror and started running as quickly as he could. Yui soon trailed behind him. Shu, who had just left the bathhouse with Inori and Ace, asked, what the heck was that about? Since they were equally clueless, the two girls shook their heads. Shu began to make his way to the hotel where they were staying, saying, come, let's go, I'm tired. Then came the two girls. A hotel room. Shu was in Darui's room at the hotel, changing into his pajamas, when Ace and Inori came in as he was taking off his shirt. Inori had a first aid kit in her hand. Naruto attempted to conceal his bruises, but Ace, who was now furious, took his hand off of him and noticed the scars. Whoa, what the heck? Because Eden crushed him, his sides were really blue. The two girls were taken aback. He has experienced pain in the past, but not to this extent. Shu, what happened? Inori's voice was very concerned. He tried to laugh it off, but they were only growing more irate. During the mission a creature tried to crush me. Ace detested it when he would push himself past his breaking point. Shu, I've told you not to be so reckless, Baka. In an attempt to reassure them that they didn't need to worry, Naruto said, look, I'm fine. My body heals really fast. A good night's rest and I'll be fine. Inori grabbed Shu's legs. Both of the girls moved closer to Naruto and said, I understand. Naruto crawled backwards and said, wait, stay back. The two girls jumped on him, limiting his range of motion. Hey, let me go. Naruto made an unsuccessful attempt to fight his way out. After a couple of hours. At the moment, Darui was not inside the hotel room he and Naruto shared. During his 6 months as Team 4's leader, Darui discovered why even the Raikage struggled to handle the crazy blonde. I hope Naruto didn't get into any trouble. There was what looked like a mummy on Naruto's bed when Darui walked into the room. What the hell? Darui heard a muffled sound as he approached the individual. The person said something, but Darui didn't hear it until he got closer. Darui took some of the bandages and said, "Help me, can't breath." After his face was exposed, Naruto started speaking. Darui. Sensei, thanks. Naruto, what happened? Those two overreacted and covered me up. Damn, I can't move my arms. Why did they cover you up this much? It wasn't that big of a wound. Darui began to replace the bandages after ceasing to remove them. Darui remained silent when asked, "Why are you putting them back on?" Then Darui covered his mouth and said, "Hey, answer me, damn." Darui began to go to bed, saying, "Naruto, you need to rest. I'm sure you'll be fine in the morning, but for now, you need to heal up." No one could hear Naruto when he tried to speak. Early in the day. "You guys sucks." Naruto, in his Shu form at the time. Darui told his pupil, "Well, don't hurt yourself." The three of them were on their way to a training ground. Shu soon led them to a location that only he knew. Naruto would rush to this location whenever he pulled a practical joke that annoyed a large number of people. There was a river that flowed through this lush area. Shu and Naruto noticed something that wasn't there before they arrived at the location. It was a grave of some sort. He was curious to find out whose name was on the stone. His shocked eyes enlarged. "Naruto Namikaze," he chuckled as he said, "they already think I'm dead, good." His group became concerned. Inori took hold of his hand. "Inori." She told him, "Shu, it's all right." Ace now took his other hand and said, "Shu, you know we're always here for you." Shu said, "Ace, Inori arigato," to the girls. The speed at which Shu's teammates were able to soothe him shocked Darui. Darui thought, this team is going to go far. Shu made a well-known hand gesture, saying, "Come on, let's do some training." Shu made 300 clones, saying, "Tai-Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." Ace cautioned him again, saying, "Shu, you're going to get a headache if you make this many clones." Shu now divided the 300 into 3 groups, saying, "It's fine, plus I'll be able to do a lot more with this." "Alright, you will work on the Kuro lightning armor, this group will spar with Ace and Inori, and this group will work on that jutsu," Shu stated to the clones. "Roger!" exclaimed every clone simultaneously. With his blade in his hand, Darui assumed a fighting stance and asked, "Shu, you ready?" Shu now called forth Tiger's Void and assumed a fighting stance. Shu and Darui rushed at one another, saying, "Bring it." A little distance away from the group in the meantime, Jiraiya was spying on Team 4 from Kumo at the time, saying, "I knew these guys were up to something." It was shocking to watch Shu use the Shadow Clone Jutsu, but Jiraiya was even more shocked to see how many clones the brown-haired boy had created. Jiraiya began to glance at Inori and Ace, but mostly at Inori, thinking, this kid's chakra reserves must be huge. What's this? He became aware of how completely Inori controlled the crystals. He saw that the crystals appeared without her even making any hand signals. Jiraiya quickly began to question whether it was a Kekkei Genkai or something else. That's one hell of control of a Kekkei Genkai. As Jiraiya began to examine a group of clones that Shu had created, she noticed what looked to be the renowned Kumo lightning armor, but it had black lightning instead of blue. Jiraiya glanced at the final group of clones and said, "This might be bad." "What is that?" "Those stealing bastards." He watched them create what looked like a Rasengan variant. At this point, Jiraiya returned to the original Shu. He witnessed the altercation between Darui and Shu. Then black lightning began to form on both of their arms. 2 huge panthers formed of black lightning sprang from the two as they yelled, "Raiden!" Double Kuro Panther. The Darui were bigger than the Shu. Shu took the blow, and his disguise dissipated. Jiraiya's eyes get really big. He mentally screamed, "Naruto is alive, back in the group." Darui didn't intend to use so much force in that attack. "Shu, are you alright?" "Hey, I'm Finn." A voice called out to him, "Naruto, someone saw you." Naruto asks, "What, where are they?" Shu said to him, "Over there to your left," and then Naruto vanished. Jiraiya is back. Jiraiya was staring at Naruto when he abruptly vanished from view. Jiraiya looked everywhere but found nothing, so she asked, "Where the hell did he go?" A voice whispered in his ear, "You know it isn't nice to spy on people." Naruto applied a second tag that inhibited Jiraiya's movement and a chakra suppression tag to his back before he could take any action. Jiraiya dropped to the floor. Naruto bound his legs and arms. Naruto picked up Jiraiya and carried him to the other members of the team, saying, "Damn it, my strength." He started talking when Naruto put him down. Naruto struck Kumo with black lightning, saying, "What the fuck are you doing with Kumo? You're supposed to be a Konoha shinobi, after all, you're Minato's son. Shut the fuck up. That bastard is not my father and I am not a member of this shithole." Naruto yelled. His group became concerned. He's always been upset when someone brings up Konoha, but never to this extent. Jiraiya pleaded, "Naruto, wake up. You've been brainwashed by Kumo." Naruto burst out laughing uncontrollably. "Brainwashed? That rich? No, I joined Kumo of my own." "But why? You would have had everything you wanted here." "Jiraiya, let me ask you something. Just how many people called me Naruto? Why does that matter?" "The answer is 4, that bastard, that whore, Tsunade, and Hinata Hyuga. The rest of this fucking village call me the fucking brother of Yui Sama. No one in this village cared about me. Naruto, we looked for 5 years. I myself followed thousands of tips, but I always found nothing. Your family still thinks you're alive. They care with all their heart. If they cared so fucking much about me, then why the hell didn't they act like they had a son? They acted like they only had Yui. Naruto, they had no choice but to focus on training and protecting Yui. Jinchuriki are targeted by other villages when they're young. You think I don't know this? They failed to protect me from this shithole. Naruto, Kumo's bribed you with power, please come to your senses." Naruto exposed his arm and called forth Tiger's Void, saying, "I can see that you won't believe me. It's time to end this." Jiraiya recognized the mark when she saw it on Naruto's right hand. "The King's Mark, Naruto you." Naruto stabbed Jiraiya with the blade and drained some of his blood. Naruto started erasing Jiraiya's memories of the previous few hours, saying, "Don't worry, I'm not going to kill you, but your memories of today will have to be erased." Jiraiya passed out when it was finished. Inori knew that Naruto wasn't feeling well, so she asked, "Are you okay with this?" He transformed into Shu and said, "Believe me, I've never been better." He started to leave the training area after saying, "Naruto Namikaze is dead." His teammates came soon after. Several hours later at this point, Jiraiya was awakening in the middle of a forest. "What happened? My head." He was suffering from a severe headache. He headed for the office of the Hokage. Minato asked him how his mission went as soon as he walked through the door. "What mission?" "Jiraiya. Sensei, don't you remember, I asked you to spy on that team from Kumo." "I don't remember." Minato shouted, "You what? Bring me Yamanaka." And one Anbu departed. Inoichi Yamanaka soon returned with the Anbu. "You summon me, Hokage. Sama?" "Inoichi, please search through Jiraiya's memories." Inoichi placed a hand on Jiraiya's head and said, "Hi." He woke up in the forest and started searching through Jiraiya's memories, but he was unable to find anything. "Hokage. Sama, there are no other memories after you woke up in the forest. What, is there something blocking you from seeing more?" "No, it's as if his memories were destroyed." "What?" Inoichi bowed and walked away, saying, "Well then, Hokage. Sama, I'm gonna take my leave." Jiraiya departed after saying, "Minato, I'll try to spy on them. I'll tell you what happens." Minato took a seat at his desk. "Kumo, what the hell are you planning?" After a few days, Yui and her father were training well. Although she had mastered the majority of the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, she was still unable to match Shu's or her father's speed. Yui was having trouble breathing. It required a lot of chakra to execute this jutsu. Minato was a little taken aback by how quickly and effortlessly she had mastered the first few steps. "Come on, Yui. I know you can do better." He was confident that Yui could learn it if he gave her a little more encouragement. "I'm trying." She was going to give it another go when she landed on the ground. She got up on her own and red chakra began to flow out of her, but Minato was about to rush to check on her. She teleported to another kunai and said, "I'm going to master this thing right here right now." Once more, she teleported to another kunai. Minato was amazed that she was already able to summon the Kyuubi's power. Yui collapsed on the ground after ceasing to teleport. Minato caught her before she hit the floor. He was now pondering whether Naruto would have followed in his footsteps, just as reckless as your mother. Minato knew that without this jutsu, Yui would not be able to defeat Shu in a fight, so he would push her even harder tomorrow. Team 4 in the interim. At the moment, Shu was examining the harm his new jutsu had just done. He was happy to see that it had power. Once again, Shu started to form the jutsu, saying, "I'll call it Void Rasengan." Shu would have to put in a lot of effort to fully master it because it was still difficult to form. After 2 weeks. Finals Day. The finals day had arrived. People from different villages were crammed into the entire area. A woman with brown hair sat down next to Kushina, who was seated in the crowds. The woman with the brown hair and Kushina exchanged glances. They both recalled one another from the battle that earned Minato the Bingo Book's first Shinobi SSS rank. "You are?" exclaimed the two women. "My the Red Death of Konoha, I didn't expect to sit next to you," Haruka replied. During the war, Kushina fought this woman, asking, "Haruka, why are you here?" She had never drawn with an opponent before. Kushina's eyes enlarge as she says, "What? I can't be here for my son." "You have a son?" Haruka smiled and said, "Yup. His name is Shu." Kushina made the decision to stop questioning. Haruka, Kushina believed, was similar to her. Like any parent, she wanted to see her child succeed. In the cage stand, meanwhile, at the stand were 3 cages. The Hokage, Raikage, and Kei's cage. The matches today thrilled all 3 of them. In the arena below, almost all of the competitors were waiting. Neither Dosu Kinuta nor Sasuke Uchiha had been seen. The Genin now had a new member. At this point, Genma Shiranui started speaking. Genma points to the area where competitors were supposed to wait until their match was over. "I have to inform you that we found Dosu Kinuta dead. Soinori Yuzuriya will advance to the second round. Now all but Shu Oma and Neji Hyuga go up there." With the exception of Shu and Neji, the competitors soon departed. It was time to talk, Minato thought. Minato addressed the crowd from the cage stand, saying, "Hello everyone. Thank you for coming. The final part of Chunin exams are about to begin. Now there is one rule, there is no rules, anything goes. Genma, please begin the first match," said Minato. Neji and Shu prepared themselves and said, "Very well then, the first match of the Chunin exams will now start." Genma signaled the start of the match by swinging his arm down. "Begin." In the bleachers, Hiyashi Hyuga and his 2 daughters were seated. He was hoping Neji would have the opportunity to battle the villager who had murdered his father. Like many Hyuga clan members, Hiyashi detested Kumo. Not wanting to defy her father, Hanabi nodded and watched intently as he said, "Hanabi, pay close attention. You're going to witness a prodigy battle." The 2 mothers, Kushina and Haruka, were chatting loudly across the arena. As it turned out, the 2 had a lot in common. "So we get to see your son go against last year's Rookie of the Year. Oh, Shu got Rookie of the Year in Kumo, this will be good to see." Jiraiya and Sarutobi were waiting for the match to start on one side of the arena. "Jiraiya, why are you so tense when you look at the Kumo Genin?" Jiraiya tried to figure out why this Gaki was bothering him so much, but he was at a loss for ideas. "I don't know, sensei, something about him gives me a weird feeling." Shu versus Neji. Genma leapt back and said, "Begin." The 2 then started fighting. Veins appeared from the vicinity of the young Hyuga's eyes, exclaiming, "Byakugan." Shu began to approach. He desired to engage in hand-to hand combat. Neji began to strike Shu with his soft fist, saying, "Fool." Shu had researched the gentle fist and saw that the Neji was about to launch a flurry of jabs. He managed to stop the attacks. Neji launched his fast-paced volley of jabs, but Shu blocked the blows before they could make contact. Shu continued doing this, and he kicked Neji to the side whenever he saw a gap. Despite being knocked down, Neji quickly rolled with the blow and returned to his fighting stance. Shu was curious about the Byakugan's power. Many people in the stadium questioned where Shu got the cloak from when he called forth the Shroud of Shadows. When Shu vanished, everyone in the stadium aside from those from Kumo gasped. Hiyashi Hyuga gave a small smile. He looked at Neji and said, "That little trick won't do you any good." However, when he saw the expression on Neji's face, his little smile vanished. "No, it can't be. The two daughters of Hiyashi ponder what might have startled their typically composed father. They were astounded by what they saw when they turned to face Neji once more. He appeared to be unable to locate Shu. When Hanabi and Hinata both used their Byakugan, they were startled to discover that they were unable to see Shu. Neji began to perspire as he returned to the fighting arena. This is impossible, the Byakugan can everything. Shu then reappeared behind Neji and placed Tiger's Void on his neck, saying, "It looks like it can't." Blood began to seep from Neji's neck when Shu applied excessive pressure. "Give up." "No, I was destined to win." "Oh, shut up about this destiny crap. Here, let me tell you something. I started out as what you call a failure and everyone thought I was a lost cause. Now tell me, how the hell did I just beat a natural genius?" Neji was certain that Shu was concealing something. "No, something must be giving you an edge." "Well, I did gain something through hard work. Why should I listen to a member of Kumo? You bastards killed my father for what? That useless heir to the Hyuga clan." The Hokage began to perspire at this remark. That was under the rule of the Sandaime Raikage. Konoha has also done its fair share of shady business. Also, why do you hate your cousin so much? Shu took off Neji's headband and said, "Remove my headband, that will show you." The clone that Shu created gazed at Neji's forehead. The clone's face was showing signs of shock. The Shu discovered the mark on Neji's forehead after he undid the clone. "What the hell? No matter what I do, I will always be a branch member. I'm forced to serve the main family all because of this mark," Neji said with an icy voice. Neji was shocked and asked, "So all because of a little mark you're going to give up?" How on earth was he able to say this? If that girl Hinata is the next heir to the Hyuga clan, don't you think that she would get rid of that seal? I mean, look at her, man. Do you think that she is some sort of power? Hungry freak. Look, here's what's going to happen. First, I'm going to knock you out. Second, when you wake up you are going to apologize to her. Third, you two are going to get rid of this seal. Got it? Shu concluded with a harsh manner. Wait, what? Shu struck Neji in the back of the neck before Neji could continue. Everyone was perplexed by what they saw. Winner Oma Shu. The match was called by Genma. Shu gave paramedics a scroll as they prepared to take Neji away. When he wakes up, give him this. The medical nin took the scroll and said they would give it to Neji. Now Shu walked out of the arena. Yui Namikaze against Samui. Genma calls the next match competitors down, saying, "Samui of Kumo and Yui Namikaze, come down here." Samui and Yui both descended to the arena. They both assumed a fighting stance. Kushina and Haruka were conversing in the stands. "So now we get to see your daughter. I wonder if I'm going to see the rebirth of the Red Death." Kushina smiled as she said, "Oh, watch, you'll see." Genma noticed that both of them were prepared. "Begin." Gemma stepped aside, and the altercation began. Yui was cautious about wasting too much chakra. A golden chain materialized out of the ground as she made it. Samui evaded the chain when Yui instructed it to wrap around her, so she made a number of hand signals. Sweden. Suiria, Dan no Jutsu, Water Style. Water Dragon, Samui made a water dragon. But instead of the dragon attacking the enemy, it launched itself. This one let loose a barrage of water bullets as it opened its mouth. That was unexpected, but Yui started to steer clear of the assault. Yui began to flee the assault. After Samui stopped the attack, since it had no effect, Yui hurried over to Samui and made 4 clones. Samui is circled by Yui and her clones. Their hand signals were identical. They all yelled, "Wind Style," "Drilling Air Bullet," and fired a compressed air bullet at Samui. Samui made a number of hand signals in a hurry. Suira no Jutsu, Water Prison Jutsu, Samui encircled herself with a steel. Less water sphere. Dust was blown into the air, and she was not hit by the attacks. Yui noticed that Samui was immobile. She made a little smokescreen by undoing her clones. The sound of spiraling chakra was heard by everyone in the stadium. That sound was familiar to many of the Junin. Samui was still in the water sphere when Yui emerged from the smoke and charged at him. In Yui's hand was a blue sphere. She pushed the water sphere with her right arm. Rasengan. The blue sphere struck Samui after piercing the water sphere. Or so she believed. Samui's body and skin turned to water when she was struck. Mizu Bunshin. Yui was taken aback. Too slow. A few feet above the ground, Samui materialized. Water was spinning into a drill on her right arm. Yui grinned instead of gasping. She was grinning, and Samui wondered why. Samui launched her attack at Yui, but Yui exploded in smoke as soon as she touched her. Bunshin. Several gold chains suddenly encircled Samui as she was thinking. Behind Samui, Yui emerged holding a Rasengan. Give up? Samui asked, aware that she had no other option. Yui let go of Samui and said, Proctor, I summit. The crowd began to cheer when Genma declared, Yui Namikaze is the winner of the match. Yui. Sama, she truly is the daughter of the Yondaime. Yui. In the meantime, competitors stand. Shu was shocked by what the village had just done. He said, this village. Beside him, Inori placed her hand over his. Shu opened his mouth to speak, but someone else interrupted. Someone said, yup, they worship the Namikaze family. Reversing direction, Shu saw a black-haired boy shaped like a pineapple. You're a member of the Nara clan? Shikamaru Nara, nice to meet ya. Oma Shu, so you were saying. This village is nuts about the Namikazes. It a drag to hear this crap every day, especially after that night. Shu asked him, what night, to find out exactly what he was referring to. Shu had become interested in Shikamaru. The night Naruto Namikaze disappeared. Go on. Shikamaru laughed a little as he recalled the tricks Naruto used to pull. Well, about 6 years ago. There was this kid that was the twin brother to Yui. Now the kid was a prankster, and I mean a prankster. Shikamaru appeared to be recalling something when she said, now I never got to know him personally, but he seemed like a nice kid. Anyway, one night he disappeared. Some say shinobi from another village came here to kidnap Yui. They say Naruto sacrificed his life to protect Yui. Other calm that he was kidnapped. Well, this is what I was told. I see. Other shinobi my ass. This village was the one that tried to end my life. Thanks for telling me. Shikamaru left the two alone and said, no problem. Yui and Samui now returned to the competitor's stand. Hey Samui, you gave it your best. Nice fight. I bet I would have had trouble if I fought you. Samui disliked losing, so he asked, oh, it sounds like you think you would win? Around when we head back to Kumo. When this was all over, Samui was going to give him a fight. You're on. Inori told him, Shu, they're going to call the next match. Everyone began to listen in, including Shu. Genma called the next match's competitors, saying, the next match will be Gara no Sabaku and Konkuro no Sabaku. Both of you get down here. Rather than the two of them going to the arena, Konkuro approached the rail. The crowd in the stadium began jeering, Proctor, I give up, there's no chance I could win. Why did you even come here? Loser. The crowd didn't seem to be slowing down. Come on, we paid to see you guys fight, not hear you guys talk. This had to be stopped. Silence! Exclaimed Minato. The stadium became silent. Minato demonstrated his identity as the Yondaime Hokage. That his title wasn't all he wore. A few seconds later, Genma began talking. Very well then, Gara no Sabaku will advance to the second round. The next match will be Shikamaru Nara versus Tamari no Sabaku. Will the competitors come down here? Shikamaru versus Tamari. Tamari and Shikamaru met in the middle of the arena. Genma noticed they were prepared. Began. He took a step back. Taking out her fan, Tamari unleashed a barrage of wind. Shikamaru walked languidly. Shikamaru launched a number of explosive, tagged kunai and other types of kunai into the air. They dispersed throughout the arena after Tamari blasted the kunai with explosive tags away. The ground was blown into the air in several small pieces. Tamari moved when Shikamaru attempted to use his Kageme no Jutsu to capture her. Shikamaru cursed that his jutsu missed, saying, damn it. Tamari now understood the extent of Shikamaru's shadow and said, you're going to need a lot more than that if you want to catch me. She wouldn't be caught in that jutsu if she stayed at least this far. Or so she believed. Tamari's body was immobile as she prepared to attack. What the hell? She asked, struggling in vain to see if she could move. Shadow possession complete. Shikamaru stood up, and Tamari followed his every move. Many people in the stand were curious as to how Shikamaru managed to contact Tamari. 2 Junin from Konoha's Rookie 9. Kurenai and Asuma were discussing the smoker's pupil. Asuma began to laugh and ask, "What? Wow, I didn't expect that from Shikamaru. That kid may be lazy, but that kid is a genius. I've never beaten him in a game of Shoga." Kurenai was aware that Asuma was among the village's top Shoga players, so she said, "What? You must have gone easy on him." "No, I went all out and still couldn't even take a single piece. Actually, I wanted to see how smart he was, but he won't do crap if he thinks it's work. I gave him a test in the form of a puzzle. His IQ is over 200. 200? Are you serious?" Kurenai abruptly stopped talking and returned to observing, saying, "I'm not joking." Shikamaru now made a few hand signals in the arena. Kajiya Kubashibari no Jutsu. Shadow Strangulation Jutsu. Temari's body was now encircled by shadow streaks. She was soon crushed by it. Damn it. She made every effort, but to no avail. Temari's vision soon began to deteriorate. The pressure ceased and Temari was struggling to breathe as she was about to faint. The words, "Damn it, I'm out of chakra. Proctor, I summit," were spoken by Shikamaru. There was silence for a moment. "EHHHH," shouted the whole stadium. His condition startled Genma, but he quickly recovered. Winner of the match, Temari no Sabaku. The three were not shocked in the cage stand. The kid knows when the battle is lost, that a very rare quality for a genin. The Raikage replied. Minato wishes the Nara clan members would put in a little more effort. The Nara clan always give us genius shinobi, but only a few reaches Shikamaru level. Shikamaru then made his way back to the competitor's stand, where his two teammates confronted him. Ino couldn't believe how close he was to winning, so he gave up. "Shikamaru, why the hell did you give up? Just a little more and you would have won." "Look, I was out of chakra and it was too much of a drag." Shu told his Kumo friends, "He made a good choice. Anyway, Karui, your match is next." She pumped up her fist, saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna get some payback for Omoi." Samui recalled that the math between Sai and Omoi was nearly one-sided, as though he was merely playing with Omoi. "Be careful, this kid showed a lot more skill than a normal genin. Don't worry, you guys aren't the only ones that did training this month." Genma summoned the next match, asking, "Will Sai and Karui of Kumo come down here?" Karui said, "Good luck," as she descended, "Thanks." Karui versus Sai. At the center, the two met. Karui's eyes were deterministic. With a simple expression on his face, Sai raised his hand and shouted, "Begin," as Genma leapt aside. Karui wasted no time in launching her assault. Karui drew her sword at the beginning of the match. That uninteresting expression vanished as she lunged at the boy with the pale black hair. Sai replaced it with a more solemn expression. Karui and Sai got into trouble. Sai kicked Karui to the left while spinning his body to the left. After taking a few steps, Karui recovered from the assault. Then she charged at Sai again, this time using Raiden Chakra to infuse her blade. Sai saw the blade, now encircled by lightning sparks. He started to steer clear of every attack Karui was launching. Sai stepped back from Karui by a few meters, leaving enough room for her to draw a scroll. He started sketching a number of animals on the scroll. On Cha-Ya, Giga, Super Beast Scroll, a number of beasts charged at Karui. Sai continued to create more beasts, but Karui started to defeat each one. This isn't going to end well. Karui was aware that she would be overrun if she couldn't strike this man right away. Two clones of Karui materialized after she made a few hand gestures. The clones started to move aside. Karui now pursued Sai while the clones were eliminating the ink-based entities. Karui was approaching him, and Sai could see it. In order to combat Karui, he made two clones. Karui's clones were able to defeat all the beasts that Sai had made and were now rushing to rejoin the original. Each of the three-person pairs had a separate opponent. Sai had defeated one of Karui's clones, but when Karui's clone was struck, it transformed into lightning, destroying Sai's. When Karui's clone came into contact with Sai's clone's ink, the ink turned red and exploded, destroying Karui's clone and defeating one of Sai's clones. Only the original Karui and Sai remained now. Now they both launched a fresh attack. Karui began a new assault. She was slashing Sai with lightning speed. Due to the Karui fighting style, Sai was forced to defend himself. Sai bowed his body back when Karui tried to cut him horizontally, and he kicked Karui in the chin after Karui's blade had passed. Sai launched a torrent of taijutsu as Karui attempted to recover from the blow. Too exhausted, Karui attempted to block. Sai delivered a final, forceful blow. Karui went limp and started to drop. Karui was knocked unconscious as she hit the ground. She had been seriously damaged by Sai. Genma noticed the end of the match. Medical Nin then started to treat the girl with the red hair. The winner of the match is Sai. Shu was furious with Sai from the competitor's stand. Even when Karui was unable to respond quickly enough to halt part of the attack, Sai continued his assault. He clutched the rail and said, "That kid." Inori noticed his anger rising and said, "Shu, please calm yourself." Shu smiled as he apologized to the girl with the pink hair. "Sorry, Inori." Inori was still aware of his anger. Nothing was happening for a few minutes. Soon, inquiries began to come in. The cage and the Raikage were growing irritated in the cage stand. The cage questioned, "Hokage, Dono, when is the next match going to start?" The Raikage remarked, "I want to see some action." Minato rubbed the back of his head and remarked, "Well, you see, there's been no sign of Sasuke Uchiha." The Raikage said, "Then take him out of the tournament." "Wait, but surely this crowd must want to see him fight," the cage said. The Raikage said gravely, "Why would that matter? If a person can't be on time for such an event, then that person has no right to win this tournament. Look, here's a deal. We'll keep Sasuke in the tournament, but he will not be allowed to be promoted to Chunin," said Minato. The cage remarked, "That sounds fair." The Raikage couldn't believe that the Hokage had just given a genin such a break, even though he was the last of the Uchiha. "Very well then, but I still say he should be taken out." Minato instructed a member of Anbu to inform Genma. The man leapt down to Genma, releasing the Hokage's side. The message reached Genma, who replied, "Really, very well then." He turned to face the crowd. "The match between Sasuke Uchiha and Shino Aburame will be postponed until later, so we will start the second round of the Chunin exams. Oma Shu and Yui Namikaze come down here." Genma announced the next match. Yui took a position in the middle of the arena. Shu was about head down, but Inori grabbed his hand. "Inori." He noticed that she had a worried expression. He left her hand and made his way to the arena, saying, "Don't worry, I'm going to show them what they missed." The two now met in the middle of the arena, awaiting the start of the match. In fact, there was a lot of conversation between Haruka and Kushina in the stands. "This is going to be good." Haruka anticipated a lengthy battle. Haruka's eyebrows arched as Kushina sarcastically remarked, "Oh, I'm sure it will be a good fight, but I'm sure Yui will win." "Oh, why do you say that?" "Well, just watch the match." "Bet you 2,000 Ryo my son kicks your daughter ass." "Deal." To complete the transaction, Kushina and Haruka both shook their hands. At the same time, several sections, including Yugito, Ace, Omoi, and Killer Bee, were closely observing. Ace knew that he was furious, but he asked, "Shu, please don't let your anger blind you." Yugito was confident that Shu could maintain his composure. Ace have more faith in him. With a very hip beat, Killer Bee said, "Yeah, trust the boy a little." Ace returned to watching the match after saying, "You're right." Concurrently, some of the members adjacent to the well-known Kumo group started conversing. A green-haired woman said, "Shu gonna kick some ass." A man with black hair said, "Boy, you've taken a liking to him, haven't you, Tomoyo?" The green-haired woman said, "Shut it, Yuzuru." The two then returned to observing the center. When Genma saw that the two were prepared, he lifted his right arm in the arena. Yui spoke before Genma began the match. She gestured toward Shu. There was silence in the stadium for a few seconds after the statement, "If I win this match you have to take me out to dinner." "EHHHHHHHH, shouted the stadium. "That bastard is trying to steal Yui from us. He must die." These were the only words being screamed. The rail that Inori had been holding broke off and turned to crystal. A number of the other contestants became terrified of Inori. The abrupt admission startled Haruka, who said, "It would seem that your daughter is fond of my son." Kushina had done some daring things in her time, but Yui simply added the cherry on top. It would seem so. The Raikage broke his chair by banging on the left side while he was laughing uncontrollably in the cage stand. Minato was taken aback by Yui's audacious behavior. This did not deter the cage. "Kotowaru," said Shu. "Eh?" Yui asked. The stadium soon became silent. Minato was shocked to learn that his daughter had simply been turned down. "What, is my daughter not good enough?" he exclaimed. "No, it not that. Ah, what the hell did I do to deserve to this?" From the stands, Ace shouted, "Shu, don't you dare lose." Yui spoke before Shu could respond. Yui said darkly, "Proctor, please start the match." Genma was a fool, asking, Yui, are you alright?" "I'm fine," Yui said, laughing. "It won't matter what he says if he can't move." "Oh shit." Shu was genuinely afraid. He discovered why Yui was being referred to as Konoha's second coming of the Red Death. As soon as Genma said, "Very well then, let the match begin," she left. Oma Shu versus Yui Namikaze. Shu and Yui started fighting. They both drew a kunai. But Shu noticed that Yui's was unusual. In his jutsu, the Yondaime Hokage used one that earned him the nickname, Yellow Flash. Shu launched an attack using taijutsu. All of his punches and kicks were being blocked by Yui. Shu quickly separated himself from Yui. Shu started to make a number of hand signals. Fa, Tun. Repa, Sha Gale, Gale Palm. Yui was struck by a strong wind gust that actually began to strike crowd members. To keep her grounded, Yui sent chakra to her feet. Shu continued to attack, making a series of hand signals, including Raiden. Kuro Panther. A black lightning panther jumped at Yui, but Yui ducked under the attack. Yui made the decision to attack. Now she called forth a number of clones. Shu was charged by the clones. Shu started eliminating the clones one by one, but smoke would obscure his vision when he vanquished one of Yui's clones. Kakashi had joined Asuma and Kurenai in the crowd. Kurenai addressed the masked shinobi, saying, "Kakashi, you're late." "Sorry anyway, I put Sasuke in the competitor's stand, so what I missed." Asuma stated, "The princess found a prince." "What?" Kurenai said. The girl confessed to her opponent. Kakashi noticed that she was fighting Shu when he looked down. Oh great. They watched intently as smoke suddenly appeared on the field. Shu began to hear the spiraling chakra noise. With a Rasengan in her hand, Yui emerged from the smoke. Shu shifted to the right as she launched her attack, narrowly avoiding it by a centimeter. Shu punched Yui in the stomach out of the blue, but she burst into smoke. Shu dodged several golden chains that attempted to grab him by using the lightning armor jutsu out of the blue. Shu now attacks Yui more forcefully and quickly. The entire audience cheered when they saw Yui abruptly vanish in a flash of red before Shu could strike her. Shu glanced around hurriedly for Yui. Impulsively, Shu moved his hand, blocking an attack from behind with the kunai in hand. The crowd couldn't keep up with the altercation. They only saw flashes of blue and red that clashed with one another. Kakashi recalled a similar altercation in the past. The Hokage and the Raikage thought they were witnessing a replay. The altercation between Yui and Shu resembled the one between the A and Minato many years ago. Envy was evident in Sasuke's eyes as he watched the game. Sasuke wanted to increase his power in order to murder his brother Itachi, so he asked, "Why does Yui get all this special training? She does it for what?" "Oh, that right, to bring home that loser Naruto." Despite Yui being his daughter, he felt that he should receive the Hokage's training. He had a higher cause. Outside of Konoha, in the meantime, Otto, Suna, and GHQ formed a force that was waiting for the order to strike. A boy who appeared to be about 14 years old soon approached and started talking. As he stepped away from the group, Trident remarked, "We will now begin to move out, but I and Mana will move ahead of the group." He leapt over Konoha's gates with Mana. Back in the arena, Shu repeatedly attempted to strike Yui, but she consistently evaded his blows. Shu and Yui continued their game of cat and mouse. Shu's blue lightning armor abruptly turned black. When the Raikage saw something he had attempted to make but failed, he said, "Shu, so you've advanced beyond me already." Yui could now be grabbed by Shu's speed. She was thrown across the arena after he caught her by the leg. Yui teleported to the opposite side and recovered before she hit the wall. Now Shu rushed toward Yui. A huge error. When Shu was in the proper position, Yui timed herself so that multiple gold chains emerged from the earth and seized Shu. Shu cried out, "Fuck," but it refused to move at all. Yui started pounding his body. As she started to apply more pressure to Shu, Yui remarked, "You can't escape, these chains are unbreakable." Shu's body started to feel a great deal of pressure from the chains. The lightning armor of the Kuro was starting to fade. Shu called forth Kurabi's emptiness and said, "Damn it, I don't have another choice." Around Shu, 8-bits emerged. Many shinobi in the crowd were curious as to how Shu was able to call forth these objects given that he currently lacked bodily control. Every Konoha nin was shocked by what transpired next. The bits tore apart the golden chains when Shu told them to go into attack mode. Shu had escaped and was now standing behind Yui. Holding it to the back of Yui's head, he equipped Yugito's void. Shu declared, "I win." With sadness in her heart, Yui uttered, "Proctor is surrender." When Genma said, "The winner of the match is," everyone heard a loud explosion before she could announce the winner. The enemy nin were able to enter the village of Konoha after 2 Endlaves fired missiles at the gates. In his mind, Shu cried out, "Naruto above." Naruto stopped an attack by an unidentified adversary by calling forth Inori's void. Inori noticed that Shu was being attacked by an unidentified person in the competitor's stand. A wall of crystal prevented her from jumping down to assist him. Inori slowly turned to face the voice, saying, "Imoto, it's not nice to get in the way of 2 boys who are about to play." Inori charged at Mana as soon as she saw her. My, you haven't gotten any stronger." Mana and Inori both called forth crystal-based blades and started fighting. At the arena again. After the dust had subsided, Shu noticed his assailant. The blade the man was holding caught Shu's attention the most, even though the boy was about his age and had long hair for a boy. It resembled Inori's void exactly, with the exception that Shu's was silver blue and his had a faint purple tint. Shu said, "Who the hell are you?" And Guy grinned. Shu heard glass shattering as Guy said, "Tsutsugami Guy." He turned to see Inori flying through the air, the source of the sound. "Inori." Shu hurried to Inori, but Guy's attack stopped him. Guy took hold of Shu's leg and severed the ring she was wearing, saying, "Remember that I am your opponent." Then Guy hurled Shu against a wall. Naruto Namikaze. Many shinobi in the stadium turned to face the smoke at this point. Out of the smoke, they saw a boy with blonde hair and a whisker mark leap out and start running toward Guy. After saying, "You've ruined everything," Naruto's blue eyes changed to red ones. Naruto had no intention of holding back his attack.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.